Alexa, can you hear me? Okay.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
No, we've been outside, we've been outside, gates out, and then we went inside and this thing.
Can you guys still hear me? I just can't hear anyone else. There's no chatter.
I muted myself, but yes, there are a lot of microphones on, and if we could potentially...
I don't see any microphones on.
That was just a minute ago. I could hear a bunch. I don't see any, but yeah. Now.
Oh, I can't hear any, and I don't see. And all I see is people have the option for video, besides for us, and then other people are off. We have a lot of guests tonight.
Teacher, only we can see a teacher when we pass by from kindergarten.
So do we have all our directors? Alexa, are those your dogs?
Yes, they are. If I...
What? Yeah. She didn't even show how to do it.
Does anyone remember what phone number Lonnie uses? I guess I could.
Yeah, Melinda 360-334
Thank you.
0319.
Thank you. Lonnie, are you there?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I am.
All right, so is Deborah here yet? There she is. Okay, let me find Deborah. Deborah, you need to turn on your audio. You need to turn your audio on.
There? Can you?
Yep, there you are.
Cool.
I just needed the option to unmute you. Okay, so I'm gonna really quickly make sure I got all my officer or directors with me. So I have Alexa.
She's got her hand up. Yep.
Do I need to unmute her?
Looks like it. Yes.
Okay.
Here's something I found on the web. According to smartpeople.com, I need to take a good look at myself and find the good in me, as well as what needs to be
Someone's Alexa is talking and Alexa needs to be turned off.
How do I do that? I'll figure it out.
You just, maybe just unplug her.
I got her. Wait, I think I turned her off. I'll just unplug her. Sorry, Alexa, you gotta go night night.
There we go.
Wrong one.
All right, so
All right, there we are.
there you are. Okay, so Alexa, I do believe if you mute yourself, I might have to be the one to unmute you. So
That is
Yeah.
true.
So try not to do that because we have a lot of guests today.
Yes, I knocked the dogs out of the room, so. hopefully-
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have Alexa, I have Deborah. Brian, are you there?
I'm here.
Lonnie? Lonnie, you still there? Did he get muted?
His is muted, yes.
Okay, mute. Lonnie, are you there?
Hey? Yes,
Perfect.
I'm here.
And Tim, are you good?
I'm present.
Perfect. 1 second, everyone. I need you to go talk to your other parent because I'm literally in the middle of the meeting. Do you see all the people on my screen?
So on Sunday, Grandma and Grandpa want to Zoom.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't muted for that. Okay,
Yeah, it's Jerry. Look at that. We got all kinds of people.
I know we have 26.
That's awesome.
Okay, so are my directors all ready to go?
I think so.
Ready?
Yes.
1 second, guys. Okay. I just need to find my agenda. I'm sorry, guys. All right, well, I'm sorry, you guys. My computer's lagging. Okay, there is my agenda. Okay,
Right.
just 1 sec. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just having technical difficulties.
I think Lonnie's with us. Lonnie, are you with us too? I think I see him in his phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's
I'm here.
with us.
Awesome.
I'm just trying to split my screen right now so I can have my agenda and all my faces.
I tried to print mine. It wasn't happy about that, so I gave up. It wasn't
That
working.
would be a good idea. I should probably do that. I'm so used to sharing my screen, but my computer's lagging.
I wasn't going to print the whole packet, just the agenda, but it wouldn't open. For printing, it would open for me to see it, but not print it. That's okay. I gave up. It's all right.
Okay, well, I will open the meeting. So Alexa, are you ready to start minutes?
Yes, I am.
Do we have Emily?
Perfect.
All right,
Okay,
the meeting is
perfect.
convened at,
Emily's not
Here, okay.
6:38. And Emily will not be here tonight.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll do roll call. So Melinda Poyer, president, and then let's go in in order of the agenda, guys.
Brian Garish, Vice President.
Deborah Baker, treasurer.
Alexa Burns, soon to be secretary.
Lonnie Base Director.
Tim Shute, Director.
Aaron Lang, ex officio.
Thank you, guys. All right, and we have many guests tonight. So how do you guys think we should do this? Should I just go down the list, or should we have everyone introduce themselves? I'm worried we might get overlapped. So what do you guys think? We've never had these many guests, so.
Call one for one and ask at the end if there's anyone missed.
So just you want me to say who's all here is what you said? Okay, so tonight with us, we have Susie Fiskett. We have a Bob, a Dan, a Donald, Doug Skelly. We have Gary L., Gerald Bickett, Laura Drybread. We have Mitch, Norma, Rachel Page, Shelly Ann, Walter White, Wilmot. We have a phone number 206-458-3436, phone number 970-309-6904, and B. Goodwin's iPad, and Gary. We have iPad owner and Robert Owen.
All right. Woohoo.
Right. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. This is great. We've had about I think 13 was our highest number.
That's
so
good though.
far.
That's what we want.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we've done introduction, so I move to approve the 4-8 special meeting agenda of the board, or special meeting of the board's agenda with the amendment that new business item F and item FI be inversed. I believe one needs to go before the other. Alexa, did you catch that?
Items. I'm sorry, F.
Okay. Do I have a second?
You have a second. You only got to glance at it, but that's okay. It's going to be all right.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, F and FI is just a subset of F, and I just think one topic needs to go over the other. Okay, so so I'm going to do roll call for vote. So Melinda, aye. Alexa,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Lonnie.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. So agenda passes. Okay, so we are going to move to welcome and opening comments. So what I'll do now is I will unmute every individual one at a time and ask if you have any comments about the agenda. So the comments are meant to be for agenda questions. So if we could try to stick to the topic, that'd be great. All right, so Susie, you're up first. 1 second, let me unmute you. All right, Susie, do you have a question? Susie Fiskett, did you have a question?
Oh, my goodness. Sorry, guys. Hold on.
Do you want us to come back to you?
Sure, yes. I'm not quite sure because this phone is not working.
Well, we can hear you. So if you have a question about the agenda, you can ask it.
No, I thank you though very much for unmuting me. But honestly, I was just multitasking and I raised my hand as part of the whole figuring out how all this Zoom is going to work. So please, Melinda, thank you for acknowledging that and move forward.
Thank you, Susie. All right, so the next person will be, so Bob. Bob, did you have a question about the agenda?
Is this Bob Owen or just Bob?
Bob Owen, yes, that's you.
No, I don't have a question.
All right, thank you, Bob, for being here. All right, so Dan, do you have a question?
No, we don't. We're just being part of the audience.
Great, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Donald, did you have a question about the agenda?
No.
All right, thank you for being here. Doug Skelly, did you have a question about the agenda?
Yes, I do.
All right, what's your question?
When you get down to 6E and 6F on the agenda, and in light of the fact that the member open forum is at the very end, which is at the end of a 2+ hour situation for the board, which I understand, I'm asking that you give an opportunity for questions relating to that issue, simply because it is a major issue and it's something that the membership needs to be able to ask questions about. Secondly, there are a lot of children online that make it hard to hear. So that relates to being able to hear about the agenda and future items. Thank you.
Well, so you said you have a specific question for 6E. Did you want to ask that now, or do you just want to ask?
No, I didn't say that. I said when it comes to 6E and 6F, that instead of you muting the membership, that you at that point in time allow for membership questions as it relates to those issues. And I believe that's something that can be done without any conflict.
All right, thank you, Doug.
What's the answer?
Well, that would be a board decision. So from my understanding, Robert's Rules of Order, that this is a business meeting and we open up the meeting 2 times for member questions, one in the beginning about the agenda and then follow up with open forum, and that during our discussions, directors speak. So unless the board would like to open it up, I'm open to that, but that will be a board decision. Do I have a consensus that we can open up a third area of the meeting for member questions?
No.
No objections?
Yes, objecting.
Objecting.
Tim's objecting?
I guess I don't vote, so I'll keep my mouth shut.
That's true, I guess. So there's one objection. So when it comes to consensus, does it have to be unanimous? So is that means that that fails, or
Has to be unanimous. Consensus has to be unanimous.
Okay.
Point of order. Do we just have a member make a motion to change the agenda? I think he was asking a question about making a comment during our deliberations.
Yes.
And I've not attended a public meeting like that. There's a forum for when the guests have the opportunity to speak and so forth, and that's well displayed in the agenda. So I don't know that we've really got a motion in front of us. So I think it's kind of a point of order.
Okay.
If I may interject, may I interject, please?
Go, Doug.
Having a lot of experience with cities of Edgewood and cities of Fife and how their particular proceedings are done, it is the prerogative of the person in charge, the mayor primarily, to ask for podium input, 2 minutes or a minute only, if there is a person wanting to do that. It's limited, but it just offers the ability. It is the prerogative. There is no procedural thing that denies it. Just my option. my comments. Okay,
All right, thank you,
don't
Doug.
waste time on it.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
Don't
So I
waste
think,
time.
thank you, Doug. I think we're just gonna stick to the agenda and then we'll be open forum at the end of the meeting. Did you have any more follow-up questions, Doug?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. I guess no, okay. I wish everyone understood the raise hand thing. That would make this easier. So Bob, Dan, Dennis, Donald. Donald, did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
All right, thank you. Gary L., did you have a question?
Not at this moment.
Thank you. Gerald Beckett, did you have a question? Gerald Beckett, did you have a question?
No.
All right,
No.
thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, everyone. My list just got unorganized. It was in order and now it's not in order anymore.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, please, because
Perhaps
this is
anybody
becoming.
else, perhaps just to know if there are any other questions, maybe have the ones that have a question, make a noise, and then you'll know there are more. If nobody makes a noise, you know you're done.
Well, I
They
have
are
to
muted.
Yeah, so let me hear. I guess I can unmute everyone.
Well, they also have the ability to raise their hand on their little screen.
So I have a question.
Okay, Walter, go.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, there is a chat portion on the bottom. You hit that button and on the right side, you have an entire Zoom group chat. I sent a message to Melinda as the host at the very beginning to tell her that I had a message. That's the way this is designed if you follow the instructions from the beginning of Zoom meetings, just to let you know. So that'll solve us going through this whole list of attendees.
I like that. Very good idea.
It's actually just the way it's designed, so you can see it as like when I click on the beginning. Okay, so maybe we can add that to the directions.
Okay.
Everyone's getting used to it. So thank you, Madam President. Questions that are part of this comment. So I'm imploring the Board of Directors to remember why we brought Waterman Consulting into Clearwood. We need them to fix our hornet's nest. We had a massive embezzlement. We had high board turnover. As a community, we overwhelmingly knew that we had to stop expecting a volunteer board to manage a community the size of a small city, any of the tasks beyond the board's level of expertise. It's my guess that Mitch contracted with us for the first year based on his initial findings, but now has found multiple additional problems that need correcting with professional expertise. We followed Mitch's recommendations and so far have had huge success and improvements in our community thanks to him and his capable team. I attended the April 3rd special meeting that was all about Mitch's contract to cover the remaining half.
Please do not interrupt other members or we will have to go back to mute all.
Cover the remaining half of 2020. Okay, Mitch attended the first 10 minutes of the meeting on April 3rd. And I remember hearing him ask the board directly to provide him with an answer to the following question. Do you want to be a board that manages and governs this community like we've done in the past? Or do you want to be a community that is managed by a manager and the board is responsible for governing the community? The board spent the entire 3-hour meeting never actually discussing that question by our general manager, and I don't see it on the meeting's agenda today. I just wanted to make that point. In the 3-hour special meeting from last week, the board diligently discussed ways to cut and slice the budget, modify Mitch's proposal to get to the number that fits into the 2020 budget. While this seems like prudent attention to our budget, it is missing the point of the entire reason we even have Mitch here. I'm strongly recommending that the board let Mitch finish his work for the community as he's outlined in his proposal. We have over $6 million in assets on the books, and we should be able to find a way to borrow of low interest or use other accounting tricks to cover the shortfall of unplanned duties that we need him to accomplish as we transition to a new way of management and governance at Clearwood. Failure to do this could lead to a failure of the entire vision for Clearwood that we all set in motion last summer. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Walter. Appreciate that comment. Okay, so like.
Hey, Melinda.
Who's banging in the background?
Everyone, wait 1 second.
Melinda, it sounds like it's your house. When everyone muted, it was only you open.
Oh, that
Just gonna point that out for you.
No, there's no sounds in my house. I had everyone unmuted, so I just muted everyone, and I'm going back and unmuting the directors. So working out the kinks here. We've never had 31 participants, so this is, I think I just need to get Tim and Lonnie unmuted. All right, so,
Thank you.
all right, so Lonnie, you're unmuted.
Thank you.
Yep, and then Deborah, Alexa, Tim, Brian, all unmuted.
Okay.
Yes,
Yep, and Alexa, you're unmuted.
I am.
Okay, great. Okay, so everyone, I apologize. I did miss opening comments for myself, and I did forget to say that we are being recorded, video and audio, depending on what you're using. You do have the option to raise hands. It is near your name, and also there is a chat. So I believe at this point, no one else has any questions. The chat was used, and it seems like everyone that had a question did already ask it. So I believe we're just going to move forward now. Yes, Aaron.
Suze has her hand up in the.
Oh, thank you for noticing that. Susie, did you have a question?
Appreciate you unmuting me.
Yes, yes.
Melinda,
Yes,
I
you
would
are
like
unmuted.
to, thank you kindly. What Walter White said, I would just really like to just use that as a segue into my concerns as well. He was very valid in his statement, and I would like it to be recorded. And I want to second his concerns greatly in keeping Mitch on to go forward and ensuring that what has been started is finished.
Thank you, Susie.
Madam Chair, point of order. I don't see the raise hand option. I'll just chat and say hand up or something, okay?
Moving forward for yourself, that's fine.
For myself, yes.
Yeah, no, I have everyone muted now. So I think we're finished with open or with agenda questions. Brian, go.
Can you find out where that noise is coming from?
What noise does it sound
I'm
like?
getting a background of pounding and kids playing, and I can barely hear anybody. There it goes again.
Sorry, I do have my things on, so maybe it's not as loud for me. 1 second.
There it is.
I think mothers can tune out those sounds sometimes. It's when it gets quiet that you get worried as a mother.
Well, I have my headphones on, so what you guys hear, I'm not hearing as clearly, and I'm sorry. My computer is in my living space, so I have to share my space with everyone. So
I might suggest, Melinda, maybe when you're not talking, mute yourself and then unmute, in between. Maybe, I don't know. That helps.
I can do that. I can do that, which is going to be hard, but I will try my best. Okay, so moving past member agenda questions to new business. So to new business A, Secretary's resignation. I move to accept Emily Martin's resignation from the officer position of Secretary.
Second.
Thank you,
Who was
Tim.
that?
Tim seconded it. Tim seconded it.
Yes.
So is there any discussion?
Just with regret.
Well, she's still going to be a director, so yay. She's going to help Alexa move forward, so that's great. Okay, so I'll call for the question. All in favor? I vote aye. Alexa?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Lonnie?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. All right, so to new business B, appoint new secretary. I move to see Alexa Burns as secretary of the board of directors.
You have a second.
Thank you, Deborah. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the question. I vote aye. Alexa?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Lonnie?
I've got a question. Do we
Okay.
have to nominate have her accept it
Oh,
before we
that's,
vote on it?
I guess that's true. Alexa, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you, Alexa.
Are there any other nominations? I'd say not. Okay, now,
Thank you for that, Lonnie. And Lonnie, what was your vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Lonnie. All right, motion passes. Congratulations, Alexa. You are our new secretary. We
Thank you.
appreciate this.
Keep typing.
Yes, you'll see me looking weird because I have the agenda on the screen. I'm taking notes on the screen.
That's the same for me too. Okay, so new business, we're gonna move to item C, water plan update. So I'm gonna give the floor to Deborah.
okay, so board, thank you, Madam Chair. I sent you all some documents this week via, it was not part of, well, some of it's part of your board packet. Some of it was just documents. I sent you the conversation with Lydia from Northwest Water Systems and her conversation with both Mitch and myself. Likewise, I had Rachel today send you the reserves plan. And so the goal of tonight is a couple of things. One is we're going to come to some kind of consensus on our contact list when we have our water emergency. And also, I just want you to be aware of some of the other items that we're going to give answers to Lydia for that are just, you need to be aware of what they look like and hope that you're comfortable. So I will start. Does everybody have that email? Can you put that up? Alexa's going to be our Vanna White tonight and share screens. Alexa, do you have the one that has the Lydia comments in green?
Is it a PDF? What kind of format is it?
No, it's the body of an email. It's the one from Lydia about the water plan correction. It says water WSP corrections and has it in green. While she's looking, I will start reading for time's sake here because it might take her just a minute. But basically, like we had discussed, and with your permission, we sent the questions to Lydia, and then she's been working on the answers. And one of the questions was, who's the operator? And so and it would be prior to that, it had Albert, so she removed Albert, and she has added Northwest Water Systems. And then she says, yeah, she just says she removed Albert, but we did ask her, and I'll verify that it happens, to put some kind of note at the fact that, you know, Eric is expected or he's working on it so that they know that that is coming. And everybody's aware that we won't be updating again until 2026, I hope. So did you find it yet, Alexa? Okay, I'll keep going.
I had it up.
I know you did. It's okay. I'll keep going while you're looking. No big worry. Okay, then the other question was about our public education that, you know, what we didn't have in there is that we do also communicate through our website. And so she did add that. It's kind of a minor thing. The other thing that we needed to discuss, kind of understand, I should say, is regarding our water shortage planning. What happens if we don't have water? I do love what Mitch said. He goes, have them get it out of the lake. You know, I hope that doesn't happen. It shouldn't. I'm not being serious. But really, so right now the plan says that we plan a future intertie with Singletree. Keyword, future. Personal opinion, I don't ever think that'd be a good plan. But regardless, so we don't really have a good plan other than shipping in water by truck. So Mitch might be right. Maybe we need to get it out of the lake. So basically what it says in the plan now, she's going to leave there. Can everybody see that now? Thank you, Alexa.
All right.
What's in green?
Is this being shared now? All right.
Okay.
And just a note, I'm the one, I believe I'm sharing my screen right now if it's up.
Oh, are you? Okay. Thank you, Aaron. And so we're up to chapter 8, and if you can scroll forward there, it's right in the middle of your screen. Folks, see the green. And basically on the sanitary survey, there were 4 items that needed to be done, and they were done. She asked us initially for the dates that they were completed, and we just weren't able to locate those dates. And so after going, you know, working with Mitch and going back and forth, she finally just said, pick a year. And so I had to guesstimate, guys. I'm guessing it was 2017, only because the sanitary survey was done in 2016. And in the past, our guys are pretty good about not waiting too long to get those things done. So I think, you know, best I could figure out was 2017. In my view, worst case scenarios, the state says, yeah, not good enough, in which case we would just take photos. Just take a picture of what they did. They just want to ensure that it was done. And then on section 8.3, it was, and so that was one of the things I wanted the board aware of. To be aware and not surprised. I do not believe it's going to be a problem. I really don't. But in case it is, you're not shocked. Uh-oh, we knew that could happen, and it did. Also be aware, and Lydia explains this in here, there's no penalty. There's no water plan police, okay? However, you could get flagged, a yellow flag on your system if you don't have a water plan. And so that's probably about the worst that would happen. But they do require it, and they do want it, and they want it to be a plan that works for us, something we use. It's our plan. The state reviews it to make sure that it's legal and that all the requirements are being met. It's a very worthy thing, which is why we spend so much money on it. But just know, it needs to be something that works. And then the next thing is section 8.3. This is a biggie too, board. This is on our table of improvements. So Alexa, I know you, oh, Aaron, you have this screen, correct?
Mhm. Yeah,
Aaron?
this is Aaron's screen.
Yeah,
Okay, Alexa, do you have the reserves right now? Can you get to the water reserves and share that screen? I don't know, Aaron will have to stop sharing in order for you to share that, but.
Yeah, I do have it, but Aaron would have to stop sharing.
Aaron, can you stop for a second? Everybody, you should have this in your emails anyway. You can pull it up on your phone if you need to. But I'll have Aaron come back to that when we're done with the reserves, but we're in the improvements now. So if we can see the reserves, you'll see what I mean. So what we did is we discussed in the plan from 2006 that was created 2016-17, everything was kind of skewed because time passed, projects weren't done, and that's going to be the case throughout, but it is. So what she did was she took our 2020 reserves, water reserves, capital improvements, and made the plan in our water plan match that. So, and that makes sense. Reserves matches our water plan. It should. But by 2026, if we don't do any projects, it's not going to match again. So if Alexa pulled that up. So what you're about to see is a list of the components in our reserve study. What components are the capital improvements? That's basically what they are. Capital improvements to your system. Can everybody see that?
I can see it.
Okay, so the yellow means it needs to be addressed or should be addressed this year. The green means next 2 to 4 years, something like that. Something like that. And that's what the color coding means. But let me just show you how to read this. So the first one, let's look at item 100, and it's a sanitary survey. So when we do a sanitary survey, it has a useful life of 3 years. Useful life means how long is it predicted to be valid, to be a product that we can continue to use. The state does sanitary surveys, and that's required every 3 years. So it has a useful life of 3 years. So when you say your useful life, that's what it means. How long is it expected to live? The next line is remaining useful life. In other words, yeah, it's a, this is, in this case, it's a 3-year thing. Well, how much longer is it still going to be okay? And it still has 2 years. So what that means is it'll be due in 2 years, our next sanitary survey, which is why that's highlighted in green. Now let's jump down to 102, and that is highlighted in yellow, and you'll notice that it has our initial final cost on well 5. We're not there yet, not even close. Okay, that's kind of how you read that, but let's go on, I hope I'm not, anyway, go down. The reason for this right now is in what Lydia has done and what we need to answer. Go down to number 300, and what this is, 300 starts, can you scroll down, Alexa, to the, to get all the, yeah, just go put number 300 at the top if you, well, yeah, because we're gonna have we're gonna cross 2 pages here. Okay, stop, yeah, as soon as you get to the top, good, okay. So you see those, this is water main project D1 through D7. D stands for distribution lines. That's our main line, that's our AC lines. We have some that aren't AC, but about 90% of them are. Those are those big projects, okay? And so those, this is the thing that was in the plan that she is correcting. Those were all off base, not all, but enough off base. The significance of that is this: it affects your funding level. Meaning, if you're going to do a plan this year and it's an $800,000 plan, that's just drastically going to affect your reserves. If you move it out 3 years, it's still going to be, you know, probably more than 800,000, but you know, the impact is a little more, it's 3 years out, a little more spread out, and you have more time to save for it. That's the significance of that. Our funding level is in the reserve, in the water plan, not in the same way it is in reserves, but it's there. So they go together. So she took the capital projects section of the water plan and made it match our 2020 reserve study. And so that's done. So but the question she has for us now is, are the hydrants cycled with the distribution projects? So Lex, if you would go down to line number 312 and just scroll it up. Well, actually leave it there. Don't scroll it up. What you'll see, you can see them both. You will see, and I know it's a lot of reading and it's tiny, and I don't think it's worth our effort at the moment. It's the concept we're going after here, that they are cycled with the projects. So I'll be getting back to Lydia. I told her today I think they are, and I've got this confirms it that they are. In other words, go ahead.
Oh, no, I think you're going to answer it. So sorry.
It will answer you. So in other words, if we're doing a mile of distribution line, any hydrants along that mile will get replaced. That's all that means. So, okay. Did you have a question, Melinda?
Yeah, because I see that the first distribution line's useful year is up in 7 years, whereas, well, never mind. I guess if you look lower down the line, the next one would be 7. So are we going to, but do they coincide though? Because
they do.
So
7 years. Those other hydrants are different. We have more hydrants than what's in the distribution line projects. So those are other hydrants. Think of about 50. And in other words, those hydrants that we're talking about, 1 through 7, are the ones that are part of those other distribution projects. We have hydrants outside of that. By the way, just so everybody knows, because many of you are really new to this, those distribution line projects do not complete the entire community. They only do several main areas. There's still more to the community. Thus, more hydrants that are not part of those distribution projects. That's those other hydrants that you're seeing. Make sense? It's okay. Say something if not.
Well, I guess my only thing is, so the lines, like for instance, the first line to be replaced says it should be replaced within the next 7 years.
Right.
And that's does that line coincide with the hydrant? I guess, does it say phase 1 there?
Yeah, phase 1, that's the hydrants involved with that.
With the first, okay.
On down the line. Yeah.
So it really does. Okay. It's just that they're kind of out of order. The hydrants are out of order. Okay.
Yeah. And likewise, you can't go by that, but likewise are the valves, all the valves that are within those distribution projects are included. So are the feeder lines. So are the meters. Those projects are designed, we called it the Cadillac back when those were designed, is you do it all. And guess what? That's not here. Then you put a new road on top. The idea was we would do this and then put a road on top. Now I got to say something about those dates and board. We're going to get into reserves a lot deeper here really soon, outside of not just about water, but so this is good, is that these numbers are arbitrary. That 7 years is arbitrary. So is the 10, so is the 13, going on down. They're staggered every 3 years so that we can get funding for the next project. So we save up for project. Let's go back to the distribution just for the topic of this. For D1, we save up for it. We do it in 7 years. Then between that and the 10th year, we're saving up for the next project. But those years are arbitrary. There's a lot of debate about whether we need to replace our asbestos concrete lines. That has to get settled. And then we have to figure out, this was the approach we had at that time in light of what we did in 2009 and in light of our 2011 water plan. Okay, this was what we planned to do. There's been a lot of debate. We've got to settle that and get a plan. But for now, for the focus on this water plan that we're going to submit to the state, hopefully after the 25th of April, Lydia has made our water plan match our 2020 reserve study. So board, just be aware. Is it okay? I mean, everybody understand what I mean?
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting I'm muted. Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you for working so much. Does anyone have any questions for Deborah?
Okay, so if we're done with the reserve portion, I'll have Aaron go back to that other document so we can share that to us again with the green. Thank you, Alexa, for doing that. You can turn, yeah, thank you.
All right, so are we still within the water plan
Yes,
update
we are.
conversation? Okay.
Almost done. Keep going. We just got to get a couple more things, then we're going to jump into the contact list, and I don't hope it won't take long. Okay, so go on down and, oh, let me get here, I can see it. So number 9, we're here at 9 now. See, we're almost to the end. Hallelujah, right? Okay, I mean, this is like putting everybody to sleep. I know, I get it. So number 9 was the water rates. So the water rates were much different in 2016 than they are now. So she did update it according to our election in December. Additionally, and the real heartburn was that they, in the 2016 plan, had shown the funding as if every year we increased our water rates by 3% annually, forever. So we quickly picked up on that, and she has taken that out. So now currently she's got a plan where it shows our actual, what we charge, and without that automatic 3% increase in assessments. However, that said, and it's easy to get confused, there is still the 3% increase in the estimated cost of the project. Likewise with our reserve plan. Reserves also shows it's based on an automatic 3% in cost of doing a project every year. So that's built in. Okay, so if there's no, I'll keep going unless there's somebody that's got a burning question. And then at the very end, again, she reiterates what I said at the beginning. Well, I'll say, we're a little concerned over the number of connections. She's got that settled. I don't think you guys, I want to bore you with all that. And then she explains how there's no, I use the word water plan police, but basically there's no penalties, let's put it that way. And you can read that whole thing about the connections if you want. I want to use our time tonight more effectively. I want to get to the contact list. So if you need to talk about any of the things you see there and that other, you stop me and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, it's all pretty kind of boring. Now, there are a couple little tiny things that she said she doesn't think is important. And so we're going to be okay on those things. So unless there's anything that you see in that last, I mean, I could read it to you if you want, if the print's too small, but I don't know if you want me to take that time. Otherwise, we can go into the contact list now, because the other thing, and I believe it's the last thing she needs. Oh, while Alexa is pulling up the contact list.
Well, Erin has to unshare.
Okay.
I made it available so everyone can share.
Oh, good.
So I don't.
Okay.
So I think you don't have to worry about that so much.
Okay.
Right.
So Alexa, if you'll share that. While she's getting that up, guys, I will explain this, is that one of the things that was in the comments from the state or in the water plan, and Lydia put this in there, because state hasn't even seen it yet, was that we would have an SOP for our water system. Of course, an SOP for, well, 5 as well. And so Mitch has done a great job. He talked to Lydia about having them help us with that. And I hope that gets to go forward. I think we need one for maintaining our system. And so just know that it won't be complete in time to send this to the state by any means, but we're going to be working on it, I believe. We'll see what the board does with that. Okay. And again, I know I'm going really quick, but I want to maintain our time. So the first one is the contact list. We have 2 sets of contact lists to deal with tonight.
Hey, real quick.
Yes.
Sorry to cut off. We need to turn this off. These have got people's private phone numbers on here. This can't be a thing.
I can't see them, but where are they? Oh, this.
Oh, the right hand.
Okay,
Yes.
can we just show the name? Okay, what we need is, we don't need the phone number. We need the position, meaning we need to know.
Can we stop sharing the screen?
Yes.
How do we see, Aaron? We don't need to see the right side. We need to see the left.
Yeah,
Just
I'm not
zoom
sure
in
how
a
to
little
do
bit.
that.
If you hold control and move your scroll wheel, it should.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Aaron. Good call.
Control.
Yep. Hold down control and then use the scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in.
Oh, to zoom in.
Yep. And then it'll go down from 2 pages to 1.
Oh. I'm not. Well, they're all on the same page, Aaron.
Their option would be everybody has this in their email.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need
And even have it in your board packet that's too long to print.
Well, let's see if I can try a workaround here.
While you're doing that, Alexa, I'm going to explain what we're doing. So to say,
okay. All right, here we go.
I'll let her play with that while we talk. So we have 2 sets of contact lists. Now what these are, if we have a water emergency, this is who gets contacted. What does that look like for Clearwood? And so it is not, oh, thank you, Alexa, great job.
It removed titles, I'm sorry. It removed the categories. I'm sorry about that.
And I think you all were, and I know I got you in the conversation about how there were 2 water emergency plans. The one you're looking at now that was created after the E. coli contamination, and it's really focused on contamination. Any other water emergencies, not so much. This tells us how to chlorinate, who to contact, and how to get it back online, how to monitor, all about chlorination and contamination, but there are other types of emergencies. So the other plan is one that Lydia created. And so we're going to keep both, like we talked about, we're going to keep both plans in the plan, in the water plan for now. I'm talking both emergency response plans in the water plan for now. Then in 2026, when we update it again, we'll meld it. We'll make it better. So, so look, this contact list is the one for contamination that was written after E. coli. And you'll see that she's put Eric as the first contact. Now, here's the challenge. 2 things. 3 things actually. One, we have management. We have an operations manager now, a GM. Okay, what is that role if we get an emergency? 2 is that Eric still is not, he doesn't have a certification yet. He probably wouldn't know all that he's supposed to do. Matt's only a WDM1. He's not an operator. Our operator is Northwest Water System. The thought, so let's think about us as Clearwood. You know, we have to know what works for us. If something happens, ask ourselves, who gets contacted? Is it the president? Is it the GM? Is it Northwest Water System? Somebody has to pull the trigger to kick in the emergency plan and understand the type. And they can't just get the message and say, oh, thank you, that was great, you let me know, click, and go back to watching a movie. They have a job to do at that point. It's a very important job. They have to get the rest of this kicked in. So, and it seemed, it'll probably never happen, but guess what? It did happen. In 2013, it happened. So it can happen. Just like, you know, COVID can happen. It just, you need to be ready. That's the thing. You don't lose sleep over it, but gee, by golly, when it does happen, you know how to respond. That's the point. So it's not a small it's not a low priority conversation. We need to think it through. So,
but we also need to make the decision today.
Yes, we need to make a decision. That's why I sent this out like a week ago.
So
think about this, guys.
So let's open it up for discussion then. So what does everyone think is the best course of action for the person to receive the first phone call? Aaron, you have a thought?
There's no motion on the table.
No,
what is the point of consideration?
Well, we're not going to make a vote on this. We're just going to get consensus. Aaron, Madam Chair, I'll explain to the board. The idea tonight is just come up with consensus on how this should look. I'll give it to Lydia. She makes the plan. We're actually going to vote on it on the 25th. The whole plan on the 25th.
So would you guys like me to move to remove the rule to have a motion on the table before discussion? Do I have a second?
We did, yes, sorry, we did forget. You have a second, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. All right, any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So in discussion, my thought, I'm just gonna put it out there, my thought is if we have a general manager or operations manager that the phone call should go to someone in that position, or the water manager, or whoever is running the water system if we have an emergency with the water system. And then they would get the ball rolling, hopefully, try to fix whatever problem arises. And then governance, we would receive the follow-up conversation. The situation happened, this is how we took care of it. And if there was anything we needed to discuss and come, make a vote on for any further action, then that's what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if a president were to receive the first post call, it's just me calling the next person. And so it's
that's right. Exactly.
waste of time.
Just has to be the most accessible. And so the GM should always be the most accessible, right? The GM, if they don't answer, they have a plan for the phone to answer.
Yeah.
So, because this is what the state's going to use if it happens. Meaning they get a bad test, they're going to call. This is how they figure out who to call. This is kind of what happened in 2013. Albert's name was there. And, this plan wasn't there, but his name was at the top, and they called him.
And that's it. So I guess now with Eric not having, so Northwest Water has the.
They're our operator right now.
Thank you. So would it be them, or would it be our operations manager, since Eric can't be that person? Or could they still be the contact? Does it have to?
My guess, and I'm guessing, is that he could be the contact, because all that is the person that's going to take responsibility to make sure everything happens. And basically that means call the next one down the line and so on. If Alexa, can you flip back a page? There's a flow chart. It needs help, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that this year. And you'll see what that looked like back then.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is
chart, but it's a flow chart. Let me turn my heat down.
This is scanned poorly.
I know, it's small, you probably can't see it. I have a bigger, let me try to read it. Anyway, the point being is what that flow looked like back then.
Let me see if I can bring up the...
I'll read it while you're trying to figure that out. It says so you either get a monthly test that's bad and somebody gets called, okay, or you get a complaint that something's wrong with the water. Then it says the next step is water samples positive for contamination. And then that gets to the water manager. Not the best flow chart in the world. Okay, and then to the left, it means we need to bring a need to bring well 4 online. To the right, it says notify Department of Health drinking water. Well, yeah, the lab calls us, but the lab calls them too. I mean, I don't know. It could be both contacting us. And then after all of that, then the president declares an emergency. So
yeah, because right now complaints are going to the office. So they're going to go to the emergency line, and then whoever answers those calls. So it doesn't seem right that the president would receive the first phone call unless someone has something else to say. I just feel awkward saying it because I'm not trying to get out of responsibility, but
no, right.
I don't understand. I would just be one more phone call to the list.
Like when that happened in 2013, Albert got the call, he called me, okay?
Yeah.
Had I not been here, he would have called my vice president.
Aaron?
So just for the sake of clarifying what actually happens in some scenario, regardless of who gets the call, where's the authority coming from to actually do anything about it? You said
right, that too.
Is claiming like the president calls an emergency?
Back then, yes.
Okay, so
but it happened in
whatever that process is, whoever's the one with the authority to do something about it probably needs to be one of the first people to get notified. Between them and the person with the license, I mean, if we have an operator that's actually dealing with that stuff on site, out of respect for the license that they hold, I would assume that they would be on near the top too. But I agree, the general manager or whoever is going to be in that position, he's going to be the most available. I think it's probably most appropriate for the most available person to get the first call.
And they direct the staff.
Right.
The staff.
Yes.
Staff.
So those are my thoughts.
And we're speaking of an emergency. So
right.
In an emergency, I'm not going to say no, you guys can't fix the problem. And let me call the board and just make a decision about that. So I feel like with them having the you know, the knowledge, I have a hard time understanding when the follow-up for the board.
Well, I think that's kind of my point that I was trying to make. Like, whoever's got the authority in that emergency situation, like, if that hasn't been defined, that needs to be figured out. If it is defined, we need to find out who's responsible for making the decision and put
Right. Now,
that person in contact.
If you look at the flow chart, back in those days, remember the president was the operations manager. So let's say we insert operations manager where it says president.
Yep.
And what they did was they got the office involved. It says then the water manager, they get everybody involved. So if the GM gets everybody, let's say Northwest gets the call or the results, they contact Mitch. Mitch makes it so across the board with the rest of the governance pieces and the communication. Because really at that time, it's all about communication and handling the situation, including paper comes out, you have to, not only do they interview you, but you have to notify via newspaper. I mean, there's a lot of steps to this.
Then does our general manager have an input on this? Like, if no one really knows what we're doing here, then.
That's right. Mitch, are you there?
I just unmuted him, or unmuted him.
I am here. I'm listening to the conversation.
So, yeah,
You have an operations staff and you have an emergency. The operations staff needs to operate the association irregardless of whatever governance feels that they might want to know. The issue is handling the emergency and communicating with the membership. Governance is just membership at that point. You must handle the membership. This is an operational issue, not a political one. You need to have people who are qualified to handle the issue on staff, have them handle the issue, and let everyone know what's going on, which means that governance may hear at the same time that the membership does. That's my
Part of that is that you will be the spokesperson for whoever that person is will be the spokesperson for the association with the media, with all of the press, and with the state. I spent a lot of time being the liaison between the state and staff when I was basically operations manager at the time. And it was very necessary. Staff is busy. They don't have time to deal with that. They can't be on the phone. They got to get boots on the ground. So I was that person. That would be you.
You would expect that if you hired a general manager to manage an association, which includes the water utility, that person should be competent to handle the emergency response without having to check in with the governance organization on should I or should I not issue the following information to the community. That's secondary. Right. Handle the emergency and then tell governance what's going on.
All that needs to happen is governing needs to be contacted. You just have to let them know.
That's correct.
And I got to tell you guys, the end of the story back then is, guess what? We got an award from the state for how well we handled it. I know there was a lot of rumors to the contrary. I have the pictures the plaque is at the office. It was like a little stand-up thing that they came and they gave us an award for how well we handled that situation.
So,
congratulations, Deborah.
Well, I just want you to know, it wasn't about me. I don't mean it that way. I just mean that, anyway, just so you know, it can be done right.
Oh, I believe it can. And so, I've always been comfortable with the idea that, the operations manager or the water manager would be the person who would receive the first call. And then, like Mitch said, they would make it so, and then governance gets the follow-up call. And then if there are decisions to be made after the fact, then we make those decisions. But in a time of emergency, the people with the credentials solve the problem.
So let's go back to that other page and let's fill in those first 3 lines, and then we'll pull up the next contact list, and then we should be done as soon as we come consensus on it. Okay? I mean,
well, so does any other director have anything to say about the flow chart for the emergency contacts?
Well, my question is this the order in which people are contacted, or?
I believe so.
It goes in the order of the flow chart, but it doesn't say board, and it's common sense. You got to let the board know. if board gets mad if they don't know. It's a 2-second telephone call, which it did. But, and then guess what? We had to notify the membership within 24 hours. And because we didn't have that automated system, we had to go door to door within 24 hours and hand deliver the notices. It wasn't about putting it on the website or on the mailboxes. Every consumer had to be directly communicated to.
Wow.
We were all out almost up till like 10 o'clock at night going door to door. The whole board was activated physically as well.
So are you saying then that the general manager should be the top of the list or the water manager?
I don't know yet. I haven't figured that part out yet. It wouldn't be so hard if Eric was already certified. Then Eric would call Mitch, Mitch would make it so. But he's not, so it would be Northwest Water. Here's my, let me say this. I think we should put Northwest Water as the operator. My concern is, one, do they have an emergency answering thing? Do they answer after hours? My guess is probably not, but that said, they operate water systems. So
let's ask Mitch if he knows. I can't
I
unmute
believe
him.
that we have a contract with Northwest Water Systems. Northwest Water Systems is the on-document operator of our system, and their cell phone numbers are listed. They are licensed water operators at the highest level. Therefore, they get the first phone call, and then they should notify the association.
And go to the GM first, right? The GM's going to put it together. So how about what I'll do is I'll tell Lydia.
Well, I guess the question was, do they have an emergency line? So they are available 24 hours.
Melinda, I answered the question. They have their cell phones down. They are licensed emergency response people for water utility systems at many different homeowner associations.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. So then possibly we would Northwest first. I will have Lydia include the cell phone numbers, not just one contact number. Have her list those. And then after that, the GM, if I'm hearing you guys trying to go based on what we're talking about. And then down the list, the GM's going to contact maintenance, and then the GM's going to contact the board, and so on.
Yep.
Deborah, there's going to be 2 contacts at Northwest Water System, and then Clearwood, and then Eric or Matt.
You'll do that. That'll be your job.
That there's a hierarchy inside. We are contracted with them for that service. They have agreed to put their license on our water permit. It's listed already with the state. They are licensed and legally obligated to take that phone call.
Okay, but my point is then they're going to call you and you're going to go on down the list and do all of the contacts. So everybody's in the loop and you're going to mobilize whoever you need to make it so.
That is correct, ma'am.
All right. Apologies for the formatting here. It's not working the same way it would otherwise. It was a scanned document.
I'm going to find some of your tapes.
Oh, thank you.
Now, if we need the other list, I need a moment to darken the phone numbers on it.
Yeah, it's on.
I have to
okay.
stop sharing. So tell me when we need the other document.
Okay, go ahead if you could. I think okay, first of all, board, do we have consensus on this?
Real
Adam,
quick.
Would you ask?
Real quick. The maintenance email on the bottom of that's not a Clearwood domain email. That's a Yahoo address.
Exactly. That's why I had it in yellow.
Yes.
Okay.
Good catch.
So we need to correct that. And I'm also not sure whether this auto dialer procedures are still correct, because that's the Yahoo email also. That's why there's a red writing in that box over there.
I did bring that up recently, and I thought were working on making sure that the fees had been paid and that it gets updated when we use it. It actually supposedly does it quick. We've never had to use it. It's supposed to update when it's used. And this is why numbers change all the time. You could update it now, and by the time the emergency happened, it's wrong. So they update it when it happens. And they say it happens quick. Keywords they say.
So I can remove this note.
Yeah, and I mean, I assume, I don't know if Mitch just can talk, but did we ever get that done? I hope. Rachel was on it anyway. But while that's happening, can we talk about this email thing? That was me and, sorry, I know it's bad grammar, but Albert and I, that's the emails that the state.
Deborah, I don't mean to be rude. Tim has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, I can't see. I've lost.
I know, I didn't see him either. I've been looking for the little hand raises because the screen's so, anyway.
You want me to do it differently?
It would be easier if we use our hand raise emoji because I can't see everyone all the time when the screen share.
I've lost it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to.
It's okay. We're going to try our best. Or you could just say hand raised.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that hand raised thing is you're speaking of. I need clarification. So emergency happens and we've determined that the general manager, or for lack of a better term, because we've got this debate about head consultant and an operations manager kind of thing. But that person will be the primary contact in the case of an emergency. Is that what I'm understanding?
It would be system, and then they contact the GM.
Okay, so Northwest Water is the one that's monitoring these
no, it's the state and other things. But yeah, in essence, they are. Sorry to answer that. Let me answer that better. Yes, they are.
Sorry, I'm
depending on the type of emergency.
Trying to get the question in for a bit here, so I'm a little behind. So then Mitch Waterman or the general manager or whatever we end up having that position called would then obviously get the boots on the ground to resolve the issue, which would be in the form of getting, you know, Eric and whoever else we have on call at that time or ready to go out there. Did I misunderstand? Was there a comment made that nobody on the board would be communicated with until after the situation had been resolved, and therefore the communication would occur at the same time it did for the rest of the membership? Or
I think that should happen pretty fast at the same time, meaning that it has to be.
I think it should be, you know, if the first call is to get people working, the second call should be to a board member designee who can then contact the other board and take that off the GM or the manager's shoulders. But the board needs to be aware, and from that point forward, while I agree that, you know, getting the water system taken care of and operational or whatever the emergency may be is a logistical effort. It may be important to communicate with the public in some way, and I don't think that should just be that we should be put on the shoulders of people who are trying to get wrenches down in a hole to get the pipe turned off or on.
So he calls maybe he just calls Melinda or the vice, and it's their responsibility. You know, Melinda, if she's there, if she's not, call the vice. Go down the officer list, get somebody that's home, and they do the rest of communicating with the board. Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's how I would have assumed it. I never meant for the general manager to call every individual person, but
well,
just.
No, I think the way Mitch expressed it, it sounded like, hey, we got an emergency with the water system here, and I'm not going to bother with the political aspect of this until, you know, afterwards. In the meantime, I'm going to be addressing it directly with the people that need to be done. And I think the board being is not just in this particular instance, it's not just a political body.
Because
we have a responsibility to the membership, and I think that we need to be involved early in the loop. Go ahead, Deborah. I see your hand.
Yes. So I'm gonna jump on that wagon. Yes, because what happens, it takes everybody, and this is why members start calling board members. They know a board member's a neighbor. Everybody got phone calls. We need to be informed and not be with our tongues hanging out and going, oh, what's happening. We need to be able to, and tell them what's happening and what they're supposed to do.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree with you. I'm saying we need to be, in 2013, it took everybody.
I agree with you, Tim, as well. And that's kind of how I saw it in my head. So I'm sorry if I didn't explain myself well. I think that makes sense.
No, that's fine. You did fine.
Well, great. So, Deborah, were you still going to explain a little bit more?
Well, if there's any questions, but otherwise, if I'm seeing this correct, the thing what I don't like about the way this chart is made, but we're not going to fix the contact list this year. Because we're so late and we really don't have time to rewrite the whole thing. So I just wish it expelled that out better, that, okay, then they're going to call the president, and we might sometime make our own little internal flow chart and stick it in the plan when it's done, so we know what to do. That might be an option. Now, we were trying to get to the next contact list, a little more complex. It's got a lot more numbers regarding other governmental entities in that process. Because remember, Lydia did that one because, she did it because she didn't know we had a plan. She did not know about this plan in 2016 when they did this. I don't know if they just didn't know it existed or what, but it never got communicated to Lydia. So she made one for us. The good thing about hers is that it kind of covers all the bases. It's not real specific. It's not the best. We definitely want to improve it someday, but we need to look at that list too. I don't know if Alexa can get to it.
Yes, I have it here. I'm just blacking out phone numbers.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Give me a second.
There's a lot more.
Thank you, Alexa. Thank you, Erin, for noticing that. I wouldn't have even noticed.
Yeah, I was oblivious too. Right, let's see, any others that need to be blacked out? All right, I will share this again. Which one is it? This one. And let's go back to the beginning of this section. I believe this is page 1. All right.
So then I'm assuming that it would be, the first would be Northwest Water Systems, right? Instead of Albert.
Yes.
And see how they listed all those entities that we work with? I don't know if you can see this, Mitch. Is that still true? Do we still use, I know we still use Tacoma Pump. The only one I questioned the other day was that electrician. I don't know if we're still using him.
Oh, is Mitch not unmuted?
Oh, he's muted. I thought he's muted. He can't answer.
I'm sorry. Let me unmute him for you. For some reason, I don't have the ability. There he goes. Okay, Mitch.
The association does not have a contract with an electrician, and they do not have a contract with Tacoma Pump. And so I don't know that the association ever had a contract with Tacoma Pump.
Oh, many years. Sorry to interrupt you, but yes, we do, for a long time. Isn't that who's doing the well 2 thing right now?
Are you asking me who's doing the well 2 thing? Or are you asking me in an emergency, who would the association rely upon to respond?
Well, actually both, because they used to be the same, but that might change. You're right. Don't know how to fix it though. What do we do in the plan?
And then it's not the electrical company, like a personal company. It's PSC, so it'd be who we receive.
Oh no, we had there was another one listed. It's kind of gone now, but it was, I forget the name. We used him for years. STMA.
The board president was not correct. The association used to have an electrician on contract to be able to come in and help with an electrical outage. If Puget Sound Energy is only interested to delivering power to a circuit, from the circuit in, if your system breaks down, Puget Sound Energy isn't going to help you. You would need an electrical person or electrical contractor or a subcontractor to come in and repair your equipment.
That's just who's listed.
So what we did have was I think it was called STMA. The question on the table is, Mitch, are we still with STMA?
No, you are not. I don't know that they actually exist anymore.
Oh, that could be. They could be gone. But Tacoma Pump, for lack of a better, may I say something real quick? For the sake of time, because we're using Tacoma Pump right now, that's probably the best one we could put in there with the knowledge we have for the sake of this plan. As far as the electrician, if you had electrical need, who would you call? Do you have any idea, Mitch?
Deborah, if you were, I believe you're asking me for the input. So my input back to you would be that a contract needs to be established with Tacoma Pump for emergency response support, which includes pump, electrical, and mechanical contractors to respond in an emergency event.
Right.
You could ask them for full service response. That's a contract that the association doesn't have, and I believe the association should have.
We could do, yes. And so if we did it, they would be one of the people we would talk to, right? Tacoma Pump.
They would be the only person. Why should you have to? You're not going to want to play subcontractor.
No, the point of this plan is that in an emergency, that's who you're going to call.
You have the answer, ma'am.
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest for the sake of time and the need to get this plan done is to put the one, I don't know what to do for electrician, but Tacoma Pump for now, Board and Mitch, the goal being that we talk with them about that. If it turns out to be somebody else, then once this plan is back, we can ink that out and put in whoever it is, because the state's not going to look at this plan when we have an emergency. We are.
May I?
Yes.
So with all of that in mind, STMA Electric does still exist. We just used them for the RV dump. I mean, if we're just using this as a reference list of who we would reach out to because of our prior working relationships, just list STMA and Tacoma and Pump.
I agree. And then if we need to formalize it, we do it, right? But for now, you're right, Aaron.
I think it sounds like to me we've got this plan laid out there, but there's currently not, there's no, all of these contexts are just hypotheticals until we actually develop, is what Mitch is saying, until we actually develop contractual agreements for people in these specific areas of responsibility. So this list, however wonderful, it sounds like what I'm hearing is that it's urgent that it be ratified and done and put into place. And so there's really little to no value going over these other additional contacts.
No, there's not. I just picked up
on the agenda that we need to get out there, and we need to either have the general manager or the maintenance people in conjunction with the general manager find out who the contractors are that we can depend on and rely on, and then develop contracts with, and then they become part of these contact lists.
I concur. That's exactly, and that's what I believe Mitch is saying too, that it is irrelevant, but it's the best we have for today. And then now let's in the future, let's work on it. And if it's not them, my point is we redact that and put the new one in.
Well, we need to keep it on our burner though, because something like this goes into place. And then, I mean, for crying out loud, what was it? 3 weeks ago, we were talking about fireproof safes, and that topic has gone by the wayside. You let something like this go by the wayside, an emergency happens, and then we're just standing around going, well, who are you going to call? Well, you call, ABC, and I'll call Beacon.
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
And,
exactly.
and we're not going to, we can't put ourselves in that position.
That needs to be or our management to work on that.
The safe hasn't been gone by the wayside. That's going to come up for our next
Well,
regular board meeting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be.
Example, yeah.
No, but no, and so this would be something that we could give to a committee, Water and Roads, and so they would be considered, like this, kind of like our subcommittee of the board right now. They do this, they sit with it, and they bring it back to the board. So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the lower section there under water line break, it says isolate and then contact. I'm assuming there should be a contact.
Where's that at? I'm
entity
sorry.
there.
It's
below the chart. Under describe what you will do if the following emergencies happen to your system. The third one down is water line break, and it says isolate and then contact, but there's no one to contact.
I would say for now it's Northwest Water Systems.
Yeah. And then electrical problem, it says contact square D. Is that what it says? But what was that other company? What was that other company we were just talking about? Yeah, I would put that one in.
I don't know where that came from. Anyway, yeah.
All right.
So, but yes, Madam Chair, may I ask Alexa to put on the agenda that we somehow assign the duty of creating those contracts wherever we decide to sign it?
So, I'm sorry, what are you asking?
Yeah, I'm saying, can we get it on the agenda for the board meeting that we assign the duty of establishing those contracts?
Yeah.
Decide that tonight, but where to assign it? But let's assign it, whether it's water or roads or whatever.
Okay, so yeah, Alexa, so for the regular board meeting coming up, for the board to assign.
So we don't lose it.
So this emergency response list we're looking at, it's not so much a flow chart as just who we would call.
Right. The numbers
Okay.
we'll need. The numbers we'll need.
All right. The other name that I think we need is on the next page, the very bottom square, the name, title, and contact information of a person responsible for implementing the emergency plan. It was Albert.
So that was going to be our contact then with Northwest.
Is that Northwest again?
Yeah.
All right. And we'll need to fill in phone numbers there. All right.
Actually, Lydia will have that, so we'll let her.
All right. All right. And then I think there was one other play. Yeah. System manager, chain of command, lines of authority. This.
Back to Northwest. And then I would make it mimic the, well, So then would that next line be GM? How do we do this, guys? This is a little different. Command, lines of authority. Somehow, you know, we're the governing body, so should it be GM? He has authority to, or she has, whatever, has authority to, you know, manage the crew and get them going, but the president somehow, I believe, needs to be on that list. I don't know. Am I wrong?
Well, I'm thinking that first block where we now have Northwest Water Systems maybe needs to be divided into two blocks. One is performs inspections, maintenance, and sampling, manages the emergency, and the other is the relays critical information, assesses facilities, delivers door hangers, or delegates someone to complete this. That does not sound like what Northwest Water. That.
No.
Yeah, it looks like those need to, be divided. I think someone might have hand raised. Tim or Aaron, did you guys have your hand raised? No? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, Tim?
did.
Okay,
And
go,
I'm
Tim.
just, you know, I mean, I don't want to diminish anybody's efforts in this regard, but this one topic, C and D on the agenda, I mean, we're kind of deep in the weeds of organizing this document, and I think the board should reserve the rest of its time to move on the agenda and assign this to roads, or I'm not sure. I've not been fully onboarded, so I don't know all the committees, but to send to the committee that can flesh this out, who needs to be contacted and stuff, so that it can be complete. I don't know. I just feel like
I wouldn't
that's
disagree.
my offering.
Madam Chair, can I make a suggestion?
Well, so this meeting was actually called for this specific purpose, and the other additions on the agenda were added after the fact.
Oh.
So at this point, we're hoping to get this finished today so we can get it to Lydia, and so we can formally vote on our water plan on the 25th. So.
And we're almost there, aren't we, Alexa? I wish I had.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, we only got a couple more. And if we can just say what should go, that we can write it later, right?
Hang on. Yeah, Aaron, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, who's been working on this most? I'm guessing Deborah and Alexa, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Deborah and Lydia.
Okay, so Deborah, what do you think needs to happen with this chain?
Well, I think the president needs to be there somewhere. When you talked about, okay, look what Alexa's doing. That's what I think should happen right there. What she's doing right now. We've got Northwest, we've got the general manager, we got the president.
Okay, is there any
That's
objection
probably
from the
it.
rest? Then let's ask the board if there's any
They should
objection
make
to
it
what's
go.
here.
So how about,
I would say that provides information to regulatory services, and the media would still be an operations manager situation,
right,
similar to the, our embezzlement case, and Mitch was the one to speak to the press.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's my thought.
Right. And when we put the phone numbers on, I'm sorry, on the other, keep going, Alexa, with what you're doing, but on pad section 3, I want to make sure we get our emergency line on there.
Right.
And then delivers door hangers or delegate someone to complete if needed. That would be board.
Yeah, it could be board. Could be staff too, but staff doesn't have time. They're busy. They're fixing the problem. They're working on it. If they're available, yeah, but it really needs to be, yeah.
If we're just kind of open dialoguing about this, I'll echo what Tim said earlier. If the GM and staff are dealing with an emergency and are the ones actually taking care of it all, I believe that somebody on governance needs to act as a PIO, for lack of better terms, to be disseminating information to the community, to media, to whoever. I mean, if we're just waiting for things to be done and we don't know what's going on, we can just simply say that things are happening. We don't know what's happening yet. We'll let you know when we know more.
Well,
But I don't think that tasking people that are expendable for their time that we should be taking up those resources. That's just my opinion.
no, I hear that. I mean, being able to say we have no information at this point, of course. But when it comes to the details of what did happen, I mean,
and we can be briefed. Seems easy enough.
Okay, paraphrasing is just not my forte, but yes.
It works. And you delegate Aaron. Your names and you have to do it. You can ask somebody to do it for you. Just make sure they know what they're talking about.
Well, no, I understand what you guys are saying.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not about, we've got to stop thinking about individual people and their roles, but the ability to actually execute the role in some capacity. So if that's something that a specific director would be responsible for, then figure that out. But I'll just say it one more time. I don't think that those things should be handled by staff because they're dealing with other things. Like, you know what I mean?
But they would have to stop and brief us though.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
So, I mean, I think I think when we speak to the media, I mean, that's like a follow-up situation. It's not something that's happening in the midst of it, is it?
No, they come pretty soon. You have a time frame from which you have to contact them. But here's the thing, you want to know how it worked for real when I dealt with it? I was on the phone with the state. I didn't need to get briefed because I was being contacted with directly. Then I was able to do that.
And and that will be different this time. There's going to be two people before I even receive information, or a president would receive information.
So it could be, well, actually, either Northwest briefs you or Mitch briefs you, okay? But it needs to be as close to direct as possible because, you know, every time you change people from information, it changes. You know, the truer the information, the closer to the source, put it that way. Not that it's not true, but you know, the game of gossip, things change as the chain of people go down the line. Yeah,
no, that's not. Well, yeah, no, and then you can be briefed and then there's follow-up questions and then my answer would be, I don't have an answer to that. So I guess that's fine. So
what else needs to be decided on this?
Yes.
Sorry to be
we're ready.
No, you're good.
Short,
we're ready. I'd like to ask for consensus, Madam Chair.
Consensus.
Yeah, let's on the contact information. So do we have a consensus that our contact information for the water emergency plan, this could go to Lydia?
Yeah, I mean.
Any objections? Okay. Wait, no, I'm sorry, Tim is muted, so hold on.
I can't even see anybody.
You can minimize your share screen so then you can see more people.
Okay, good. Well, yeah.
I can stop sharing at this point, I believe.
Yeah, you can. Thank you. There they are. Woohoo! They're there. The hands are up.
And then Tim, did you have an objection to the consensus for the water plan contact? No. Okay, and Lonnie, did you have an objection?
No.
Okay, Brian?
No.
And Brian, no objection?
None.
Okay, well, great. So then, Deborah, you may move that forward to Lydia.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. And we'll see you all on the 25th.
Thank you both for working so diligently on that. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is Mitch Waterman Consulting invoice dated 3/31/2020. All right, so I move to suspend the rule to have, no, we're already in that rule actually. So we still have, we are still open for discussion. So do we have, I have a question. Can we share screen that, or is that inappropriate?
I believe that would be inappropriate. Just my take, but
Can you re-email it to me, because I don't think I have it.
Me also.
it's in the board packet. If you have that, page 16.
I couldn't.
It is in the board.
But OneDrive and my printer don't like each other, and I cannot print. Again, once today I tried and it wouldn't do it.
So
The agenda.
the board packet was recently sent right before the meeting, so I could forward everyone the Zoom invite one more time.
I
So
did
it should
try.
be your first email, and
The one I tried to print was the one you sent just before the meeting.
you can't view it.
Send it to my private email. I'll look at it on my phone. Send it to my private email and I'll look on my phone.
I will try.
When you open up the board packet, you can't scroll down below the agenda, Deborah?
No, I can't print it. I can scroll everywhere, but I can't print it.
Don't worry about printing it. Just scroll down on your computer, can't you?
Right. No, if I go out of this screen, for some reason it's user error, I can't get back to Zoom.
Oh.
You lose me if you go there. So, but I can do it on my phone. If somebody will email it to my private email, I'll look on my phone.
Well, you can get an app to access your email on your phone too.
Oh, I do. I can do email on my phone. I don't have the association email on my phone. I only have my private.
So real quick, I'm going to make the point. This should not be going to private emails.
Yeah.
Because I can't see the invoice. So
Thank you, Aaron. Okay. All right. So we're having a problem with this discussion. Should we table this discussion, or Deborah, have you not reviewed this part of the packet?
I just got a glance at it. I didn't really get to read it.
Okay. Would everyone feel more comfortable to table this discussion to a later date? If
No.
not, everyone has, no. Okay.
No, the due date is on the 10th. There's a few
Oh,
days.
thank you for
before
that
it's due.
reminder.
No.
Okay.
I'll do my best. If you guys kind of fill me in on what we're talking about, that'll help. I mean, on the items
You can
on
share
it,
then. I'm a little lost right now.
I was going to say, go ahead and I might ask more questions only because I'm not sure what the topic is at the time.
My computer's froze.
Okay.
So would anyone like to start the discussion while I load my email?
I'll go ahead and start, I suppose. I mean, maybe we should. It's really difficult for us to have an intelligent conversation around this unless everybody has this up in front of them. So that needs to be dealt with. I mean, frankly, so speaking to all the directors real quick, can't you pull up a browser, open this up in a window? You don't have to be looking at all of our faces while we talk about this. You can have this up.
Okay, I'm going to try it. Aaron, I'll try if you can get me back if I get lost, okay?
Sounds good.
We'll try.
I have it up on my screen, Aaron, so
I'm going to try right now and see if I can do it. Okay. I know I can open it and I can scroll, I just can't print.
So one thing for everyone to consider, this, I hope that it wouldn't get here, but considering that this could be a legal issue, I would argue that there is some merit to this being an executive session conversation. I mean, frankly, I believe that some of this needs to be negotiated and discussed with our GM. Trying to go out and trying to cover without going into specifics, but I think that there just needs to be an intelligent conversation that happens with this invoice. There are points on this that I see covered, in my opinion, in some of his duties in his current contract. And like I said, I think that this is a component of negotiation at the moment that should probably be covered in closed session. That's my opinion.
No, and that's fine. And I hear that, and I would be comfortable with it too. And so I get confused because I feel like it goes back and forth, that the membership has the right to understand what we're paying. And then at what point do we go into executive session? So I'm fine with having this discussion in executive session. I was under the impression this needed to be an open session conversation. So Tim?
Yeah, I'm a little puzzled. The board packet is not a public document.
It is. Well, I think I don't know.
I mean, it goes, the board agenda, people, it should be posted on the website. Isn't that the case? Aren't the topics of our meetings?
The topics of the meeting go
The
to the
agenda
membership,
is, the
but not,
agenda is,
The
not
agenda.
the packet.
Okay.
right, but not the packet.
Now, what happens though is the attachments get attached to the minutes, and the minutes of the association upon appointment can be reviewed, in which case the association, the members would see the packet.
And my understanding was if the members ask to see a packet, they get a packet. I've witnessed that. I don't know how accurate that is to do.
We've given out packets before at meetings. This is all public.
That's
The
what I
membership
thought.
should be able to see this.
Yeah, I would have a hard time understanding why the membership, why, you know, I think the nature of the conversation, there's an aspect of respect, and dignity to, you know, because, you know, when you have a conversation, in which you might, for one reason or another, question, certain aspects of an invoice, it can tend to, be viewed just in a general way as critical. And the point of the matter is we have a fiduciary responsibility to our membership. And you know, I mean, in light of what Aaron said, I agree. There's at least one aspect of this invoice that that in the reading of the actual agreement that you guys signed, I wasn't there at the time. You know, payment is inclusive of normal travel, hotel, and per diem, inclusive. So, you know, and I think I don't know the nature of all of these charges as that relate to professional services, but with some of them, were they professional services within the original scope? If they were outside the original scope, I haven't seen a copy or an addendum that involved a change order to the original scope. You know, I recognize that having read the original consulting agreement or agreement with the Waterman Consulting, you know, there was the contract was really front loaded. A lot of the expenses occurred in the early part, and it kind of was intended to taper off toward the latter part. And I absolutely recognize that anybody going into it and getting to this point, you know, obviously there was been much greater issues than anybody could have foreseen, or than some could have foreseen, especially somebody in the position that Mitch Waterman was, or Waterman Consulting was in. So I think there's an appropriate opportunity for negotiation in how this all fits together, and try to maintain fairness with everybody. But I think, you know, the next agenda item actually has put that in a completely different light. So I'm not sure. I have no problem. I don't see any reason why we can't have the open discussion. But if you feel we need to go to executive session, that's, you know, that's something the board can discuss. I'm done. Go ahead, Brian, I suppose.
Are there charges on this that you're contesting then, Melinda?
The reason why we are having this discussion is because there's no contracts for some of the charges. So the board technically hasn't approved to spend this money. So I'm basically coming to the board and saying, are we approving this invoice or are we not approving this invoice?
I'll raise a point of order real quick. There is no motion. I know we suspended that rule, but in my opinion, the motion needs to be made to approve this contract. We can go into discussion for that reason and decide whether or not we're going to support or deny this invoice. The association has made nothing formal on this invoice at all. And that's what we're here to discuss, is whether or not we're going to approve or deny this invoice.
I understand that. So to that point though, is everyone still comfortable having this conversation in open session, or did we want to go to closed session since that was brought up?
I'm still trying to ask you, what are you contesting on this contract that he's charging? I see all these individual charges. What is it that you're contesting?
Mr. Garish, there is no contesting in this. This is a decision on whether or not this invoice is appropriate or whether or not it's going to be rejected. Who's contesting anything?
I see 9 different charges on here. What part, is it the entire bill, the entire
I have no
invoice?
problem answering your question. I hear your question. What I want to know is, before we would continue this conversation, is if the board did want to in fact go into closed session first, because that was brought to the table. And then if not, I'm going to make a motion as Aaron suggested, and then I will answer your question, Brian. So.
Mitch has his,
May I make a suggestion at this
Yes.
point?
Mitch has his hand up.
If we're concerned that it's going to be legal, that's probably enough reason to go into executive session.
I'm going to unmute Mitch and see what he wanted to say.
See. Oh, there we go. Madam President, did you sign the check for Ted Phelps last week when you called me up and asked me if I agreed that Ted Phelps' final bill was complete? Did you sign his check?
I did.
Was that in the budget?
It was not.
So you went ahead on your own authority and signed a $10,000 check on my approval that the bill was complete. And you signed off without the board's permission on an item that wasn't in the budget and approved a payment to a forensic auditor for work that was not in the budget. And yet you've taken my invoice and brought it forward to the board for discussion, which is totally fine to me, but different than Ted Phelps' discussion about $10,000. And so I'm wondering, why is my invoice in front of the board for a conversation when you decided to not bring forth a $10,000 check you approved for a forensic auditor?
Well, I remember the conversation where you brought to the board if we were going to continue spending or not. Spending had already been done. The board already understands the amount of spending that had been done. So I do understand the point you were attempting to make. When I received your invoice, it was an invoice that I wasn't expecting to get. So I went to the board, showed them your invoice, asked them what they would like to do. And there was a consensus that we would have the discussion at the table.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am, because I did share with you that I would be billing you for this work, and you were very vocal that you would not pay it. And I shared with you that I would be submitting it. So in that regard, we'll have to agree that we don't agree, Madam President.
I'm okay with that. So in light of this, did anyone have any comments?
So are we going
Oh,
to
I do, but I'm going to wait
session or
until
not?
the baby's down.
I think we're going to have this discussion in executive session. Unless there's a...
I do have one more comment. I just need 10 seconds to pass off my baby. Hang on. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but that bill for Ted was submitted by the lawyer, correct? And Mitch, you just said that you approved that. You approved that, not the board, right?
I believe Mitch
Correct
is
me if I'm
muted.
wrong.
I believe Mitch is muted again.
Oh, may I ask, Madam President, may I ask the general manager of the question then?
Yes.
Did you approve that expenditure?
I concurred that this was Ted's last and final bill, consistent with the board's direction to curtail all further action for pursuing any further forensic auditing or civil action against your former bookkeeping at this time.
Very good. And that payment was congruent with that order, correct? No. I'm a director on this board.
No, you're
I'm the one asking this
officio.
question.
You're ex officio.
Totally not the point, Mitch. I don't want to get into a pissing match with you. I'm just trying to figure it out. At the end of the day, our decision was to move forward and say we're going to stop payment. And that check came in light of that decision. The board did make that decision. The board did authorize that work. Am I wrong?
That I can verify that. That was the first night I sat on the board. That conversation was had at the board meeting.
It was
and that happened.
Bill?
Yeah.
We ordered that work to be done, and that was the bill we got for ordering that work to be done.
That is correct.
Okay. Roger that.
So are you saying, Aaron, that none of the work on this invoice was ordered to be done?
I'm suggesting that we have a contract that may or may not cover some of these items, and I think it would be appropriate of us to review that and make sure that we're not double paying. And potentially that this isn't being brought into our realm as a means of negotiating a contract. My concern is that this is coming in light of a contract, because if we move on to our next point of business, the dates on these and the reasoning that we've received a disengagement letter, there are some interesting conflicts here.
So you're asking us to vote on this. You don't have any information on what's on the contract has been his scope of work or its added scope of work. So I'm kind of in the dark here.
Could we
You have, you're in the dark, Brian. We all have copies of Mitch's contract and of his scope of work. And so Mitch is meant to be the operations manager. And one of the things on the invoice is the handling of the COVID-19 situation. I would question why we're being billed for something that doesn't seem to be outside the scope of operating the community.
In fairness, Madam President, there's no
Yes.
dollar amount next to that item.
That one's zero.
Yes, no, that one clearly has a very large number.
Oh, further down, yeah, the next, down to the 23rd, yeah.
Yeah, oh, okay, it's the subsequent.
Yes.
Just going to throw out there, this is still touching into negotiating and potentially
And we need
illegal
to actually
issues.
get
We
in, if we're gonna do this, we gotta get an executive, if we're gonna do executive.
Okay, we're moving, okay, so,
I've had my hand up.
okay.
I've had my hand up.
I think okay,
Mitch has his hand up.
I hear Mitch go.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm sorry. This isn't a negotiation. I have submitted a letter terminating my relationship with the board. Aaron, this isn't a negotiation. My company has terminated its relationship with Clearwood. We're open to something in the future, but you've been terminated. This is a bill. This isn't a negotiation. To keep saying it's a negotiation is false. There's no negotiation here. I have fired you as a client. I have submitted my invoice, and we need to move on.
Madam President, I'm going to ask that you remove people that are not members from this discussion. If that is the posture that we are going to be having in this discussion,
yeah,
only members are entitled to this meeting.
Are you asking me to
I'm
remove?
asking you to remove the general manager and remove any other contractors and remove non-members from this meeting. This is inappropriate if that's the posture that we're going to be having to deal with.
I think
we need to move on.
And we need to get into executive session, talk about this, come back out and get back to work.
I'm comfortable with moving on and going into executive session.
There you go.
Madam President,
Make
if
a
I
motion.
may.
Madam, I have a motion.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session at 8:20 p.m. to discuss, I don't know, I hate to use the word legal because I hope it doesn't go there either. What do we say? What do we call it, guys? Help me.
It's legal. It's personnel.
No, this is not.
Okay, let's call it legal, a legal issue. It could potential, I don't know how to.
So how
Hold up.
how do we do that right now, guys?
We have to legal. Yes, we have to go in legally. We can't just go in.
We can't go into executive session. We have to wait till the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we cannot skirt these issues. The membership has a right to hear what's going on with this. And frankly, that disengagement letter was sent to all of us. And I think the merits of that needs to be discussed. We can't go into executive session and hide these issues. I'm just saying that there are components of those discussions that we may not have outside. So you're right. The semantics of this being negotiations, okay, fine. I'm using that word because I would like to believe that we could potentially negotiate. But again, if the posture is being taken that this is a bill that we're receiving, then I'm going to suggest that this is a legal matter and it's inappropriate of us to be having this in front of the person who's billing us for it. We can't go into executive to hide our conversations. That's highly inappropriate. We cannot do that. Only for what is impending legal matters or potentially legal matters for liability or personnel issues. This could be a legal matter. That's my argument for executive for certain components. But beyond that, we need to discuss that disengagement in public. That's my opinion. I'll stand fast on that because the membership has a right to know what the hell's going on.
Would it be more appropriate just to table this discussion for now and move on to the next agenda item and just recognize what it is and then move through the agenda? That way we can, if we decide we want to have an executive session to discuss a contract issue, we can do that at the end of the meeting.
I'll second that.
Yeah, me as well.
I mean, I don't think it's a motion necessarily, but
No.
you know, I think if we just table this topic, I'd make a motion to table item F or item E until later in the meeting, or move item E to the final position in the agenda and move on to item F.
I think that's a very wise move. I'd point out that my contract does require that I attend all board meetings. So to ask me to disengage from your board meeting would actually be a breach of my contract.
Mr. Waterman, all due respect, I hand wrote that amendment in there and it says as requested. It is not a requirement. All
Okay.
due respect.
May I make it? I have my hands up.
Yes, Deborah, go.
Okay, so how about if we do table this, when we do bring it back, between now and then we find out, can we have this out in the open? In other words, should we or should we not? You know, can we just talk about this in open session and can we show the bill to everybody that's looking? We don't know for sure. That's the problem here, right? So let's find out. The reason for tabling it is to find that out. So when we do it, we've got something to back our actions.
So are you suggesting we table it and have legal review it? We need to understand that this invoice is a separate item from the next and the rest of the items on the agenda.
Right.
We are simply being presented with a bill, and it is the board's decision on behalf of the membership if this bill meets the contract criteria or if it doesn't meet it, or if we're going to contest any of the items. That's a completely different topic. If we feel we need to have legal review this beforehand so that we understand contractually where we're at before we make any one or two other decision, that's fine. We can table it until legal has a chance to review it and advise the board on how to proceed on it. In the meantime, we can move on to the rest of the agenda.
Right. And may I add to that, in the interim, along with figuring out how to find out what's right, we also, has anybody ever gone piecemeal by piecemeal and checked it with his original contract? I have.
I have today, yeah.
Okay. So you are prepared to talk about it then, right?
I feel I am, but you know, I mean, if the rest of the board members feel comfortable, I don't feel uncomfortable having legal look at it anytime you have your bases, more people giving input on it. I think it's better, but we need to move past this because, I mean, in light of the comments made by the general manager, yes, you may have in your eyes fired us, but you are still working for us until June 4th. And there are items on your contract that need to be fulfilled and completed. And we need to have some kind of amicable relationship in order to complete that. I think you want that for anybody that you might refer to us as a reference. And we want that because we want to make sure that we're moving forward in the best possible light. But that said, I'll change my motion and I would move that we table this item for further review by the legal and to be brought up in a subsequent meeting, possibly at the general meeting if it's available. And at that time, we can decide whether we need to have the conversation in executive session or not.
I second that motion.
So the only problem with that is that, like Aaron stated, the invoice does have a billing date of the 10th of April. So unless we're comfortable with going past that date.
Well, there's penalties that naturally incur, but that's the cost of it. If there's things to question about it, then that'll happen.
Is there any objection to that?
Well, what's the 10th?
That's 2 days from today.
2 days from today.
Probably someone's calling.
The only other thing to do would be to authorize payment as submitted with, the intent to review and possibly rebill back anything we felt we were owed. But, we know what that means. But I don't know what other options you have.
We could just continue to have the conversation since we've already had it so in depth. I mean,
It's true.
I just wanted to get some clarifying questions out of the way before we started the discussion, as if we did want to go into executive session, and if not, I was going to put a motion on the table, and everything went sideways really fast. So there is work on this invoice that I don't mind. I wouldn't mind us paying, but there are things in there that I do already fall under his scope. And so that was going to be my discussion. So we do have a motion on the table to table it. There was a second. So let's call for that question. So we can table this just to the end of the meeting so we can have another discussion. Call for the question. I vote aye. Alexa?
Abstain.
Deborah?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Brian?
Abstain.
Lonnie?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. We'll table it to the end of the meeting. All right, so I need to move to reinstate the rule to have a motion on the table before discussion. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Thank you. Any objections? All right, motion passes. All right, so the next thing on the agenda, because we amended the agenda, so it's going to be what we can see as FI, which is Mitch Waterman Consulting, current contract, continuous scope of work. And I wanted to move that on top of item F, which is Waterman Consulting form a disengagement letter, so we can form our motion correctly for on accepting his disengagement letter. So I formed a motion. You guys can second it. We can have a discussion and we can amend it. I move that CCA Board of Directors accept Mitch Waterman's consulting formal disengagement letter contingent that Mitch Waterman Consulting will be able to fulfill their obligations to the current contract by June 4th.
Second.
Thank you, Lonnie. All right, so open for discussion. So did everyone understand that what that motion said? It basically said that we'll accept his disengagement letter that would end his services on June 4th if he's able to fulfill his obligations to his current contract within that time frame. I believe besides for being the general operator, or sorry, operations manager for CCA, he would need to create an RFP for, well, I guess it wouldn't be an RFP now, though. It would maybe just be a job description. That would depend on if we plan on bringing in a full PPM service or someone that would similarly fill his role.
Raised hand.
Go ahead.
Go, Tim.
Tim is first.
Yeah, my input to this discussion is I'm quite flabbergasted and disappointed with the way that that this unfolded. I'm not sure what motivated it. We were presented with a proposal for a new contract agreement with Waterman LLC or Waterman Consulting, and we went through that in very much the manner we're expected to by our membership. We went through it line by line and looked at it and considered what we had available. Prior to the year end, my understanding, I wasn't party here at the time, but prior to year end, I was a member here, but I wasn't on the board. Prior to the end of last year, there was a budget made and approved by the board with the support of the team that we have with us, Waterman Consulting, our accounting manager, and all that. And there was a budget item made for the contract of $73,000 and change. I don't know the exact number. You know, I'm not sure how that discussion went or why that discussion went. I find it odd there because the original contract was over $94,000, not counting extras. And so the subsequent budget was for 73. I'm not sure how that came to be, but that was my understanding. And so we were presented with initially about 120,000 and some travel expenses in the neighborhood would bring it about 125. And so we were looking and going, I'm being told as a board member, well, yeah, but we only budgeted 73. And so now we're having conversations. Well, maybe we can take some from this account and that account, and we can kind of move it in, and we can get to maybe 85 or 90, which is still less than the original contract. And we know, based on anecdotal information, I know that there was way more to be dealt with than the original contract even contemplated. And so then we were still trying to be diligent and go through this process of evaluating what's being asked of us by someone who has an intimate understanding of what's available to us. I was a little, well, I won't get into details of how I reacted to certain actions that were taken, but and then we get a follow-up, and then somehow now we're talking about $140,000 contractual relationship involving double the travel in the first proposal. And maybe I just didn't completely understand where all the I's and T's were crossed and dotted in the first proposal, but at no point did this board, in my eyes, show any disrespect or any lack of seriousness in engaging this topic. As a matter of fact, we were diligent. And I even remember, because it was the first time I was introduced to Walter, who's listening on here, he made a plea of us at that time, very similar to his earlier plea this evening, which, by the way, I just want to make a nod of respect to Doug. Doug wanted to comment on this topic when the topic came up, and we had 2 people that were permitted to discuss it prior to the meeting even starting, but that's neither here nor there at this point. But we were very serious about what we did, and simply raising the question, and we sent back, based on what was sent to us, we sent back a revision of what we thought we could afford to do of the original proposal, and asked that the price be adjusted to meet those goals, those readjusted goals, because we felt there were things that were out of our ability to afford at this particular point in time. And to me, that's where things went sideways, because the next response was, quite frankly, and I don't mean this with any I'll try and state this without any emotion. The word that got back to me is, I'm not changing the price. And I'm sure there's way more detail to that comment than I'm conveying, but that's all I got back. And it was almost like an impasse, and I didn't understand that. And then subsequent to that, there was a reissuance of the price, and that's when I saw the new number, the 140,000. And then, without even an opportunity for the board to meet and discuss it, we were then sent a proposed disengagement letter saying, listen, I've considered this, and I'm just, this is what Mitch sent us, and he was just done. And I just don't understand what happened here. Say what you want about, how talented any given one of us are. Say what you want about how, knowledgeable we are about any given thing. There was never anything but an earnest and serious attempt to try and get the best possible relationship with somebody that most everybody I've talked to has respected the work that has been done by Mitch. And then there was this completely uncharacteristic, based on what my understanding is, response from Mitch. And so I'm not sure what the legalities and when we should table this, or when we should discuss this, and how much we can talk about in front of the membership. I think at the end of the day, it's a budgetary item. The members can look at the budget. They will get to see everything that we're talking about at some point in time. And I'm quite flabbergasted that we find ourselves in this position, especially when it culminates in, and forgive me for this, Mitch, but everybody's been here tonight. Your comment that I fired you as a customer, that was an unnecessary little slap, I think. And I recognize that you've got some emotion tied in this, and fair enough. But yeah, I'm not sure where to go with this. I had hoped very much the way Walter suggested that And I told the, you know, well, I won't talk about what was said in executive sessions, but I will express my personal feelings. I don't think there's any way we can hope to find new management. And at this point, we have no choice. Mitch has taken himself off the table. But I had expressed, it's my personal expression, we can't find, for what we were going to spend on the maximum proposal that was put in front of us, it's going to be hard to come in under that at this point in time, irrespective of what happens. But gosh, we were just looking for some give and take to try and be able to stand in front of the membership and say, you know what, I know you may not knows what's going on in every conversation we had, but we worked our butt off to get the best price for the contract for the best person we thought we had available to us. And that is just all blown out of the water the way I see it. And I don't understand why. And I'm not an unprofessional person. I drive truck now, but I was in banking for 20 years and I managed a $300 million portfolio. And I've been in other industries where I've dealt with professionals, legal and non-legal, for profit and for nonprofit. And I just don't understand what domino got hit. Sorry. That's all I'll have to say on that topic. Sorry. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. So just so we know, the motion on the table is accepting Mitch's disengagement letter with the caveat that he would finish his scope of work in his current contract, which is creating an RFP and or I guess a job listing possibly. But any directors have anything to say?
I do. I have a question. So in his current contract, what is it? Is it a job description or is it an RFP? Do you remember, Aaron, Tim, you just looked at the contract. Can you tell us what's in the current contract as far as in the rest of the deliverables, or especially that? Is it an RFP or job description? Because I don't think we need to be changing
I think it's fair to ask Mitch.
Yeah, we just don't want to change it at this juncture. Whatever is in the contract is, I think, all we can ask for.
That's true. It is an RFP. It's just, I was having a discussion and someone said it might make more sense to have a job listing yeah. So was there any Aaron, did you want to elaborate more to that?
I honestly didn't even hear quite the question you just asked. There's a lot of background noise from somebody. I don't know.
It's probably me.
Aaron, what we're asking is basically in his original contract, was it an RFP or job description? The concern I'm having is I don't think we should be changing. We can't say as long as you can fulfill your current contract and then change it. Whatever's in there is what's in there. And that's my thought.
Yeah, the executed contract is the executed contract. And
what does it say? RFP or job description?
RFP.
Okay.
And implementation of all the things to come. I don't want to take up my time right now. I've got many comments, but I'll wait for the rest of the directors to speak.
Alexa has her hand up.
Alexa.
Yeah. What's troubling me is that we seem to be moving in the direction of having a dialogue and coming to some agreement until Melinda and Aaron ex parte had a telephone call with Mitch, and then everything fell apart. And I believe that the full board should have the opportunity to have a discussion with Mitch.
Good idea. I like a lay your cards on the table discussion.
Yes, yes.
If that can be appropriate, absolutely.
I'd second that.
So shall we set with that? I'm assuming that's open, or is that closed? I'm assuming it has to be open. Am I wrong?
Yes, open.
So I can make it a motion?
We have a motion on the table. Would you guys like me to retract it?
Yeah.
Okay. I will retract my motion. Who seconded it?
I did. I'll retract my second.
Okay.
I'll second it.
That was the motion to accept his disengagement letter.
Yeah, she just retracted her motion. I retracted the second. And then you made your motion, and then Brian seconded your motion.
Okay.
Can you re-say your motion, Alexa?
I move to have a conversation, a discussion with Mitch Waterman and the full board.
And so we want that to happen now, or are we scheduling one?
I would schedule it. don't you all agree? You don't all.
Should we ask Mitch if he would like to have a conversation with us?
I think that would be appropriate.
Yes, because yeah.
As I shared with you, Melinda, on last Friday when you and Aaron called and Aaron did most of the talking, my first question to you was, why are you calling me and not involving the entire board in this conversation? And your response, as I remember, was, well, Aaron and I just want to understand what we did wrong or what went wrong, and we want to understand that and we'll share it with the board. And I said, why are we not having this entire conversation with the board? And I kept reiterating that. And then as the conversation went on, some clarifications occurred, and Aaron apologized to me and admitted that he had, behind the scenes, much to my absolute unhappiness, admitted that he had referred to me as a liar. And I was stunned that he had actually said that in some email conversations, and he sent me an apology, and I believe he copied the board. I had to ask why the breakdown in communication occurred, and I was really quite stunned. Tim, I really appreciated what you had to say. I mean, the fact of the matter is that I felt that we were in a really honest negotiation, but now we've entered the third month of a negotiation. And I've negotiated $20 million contracts before that have taken less time than this. So it was a little surprise to me. I would be honored to have an open conversation with the entire board to understand where are we at, how did we get here? And my request to Glenford said earlier, no less than 3 times I've asked the board, what is your goal? And where are you headed? Because if your goal is to remain focused on being a professionally managed association, I'm all in. But if your goal is to be a board managed association, I'm not all in, because I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to be a change agent for you to help this association become professional managed association, not a board managed association. And at this moment right now, I feel that the board's belief is that we'll manage the GM to manage the association, and I'm not signing up for that. So I'd be really open to having a full-on discussion with the board about where Clearwood wants to go and all that is required to get you there. I will point out that on January 28th, I have the actual letter that I read to the board on January 28th and said, if this in fact is where you want to go, here are the open actions it would take to get there. And the board unanimously, to your question, Tim, the board unanimously voted and said, give us a proposal to do just that. Now, my failure was that I agreed I would have it on February 11th, and it took 10 more days than that. It was a very extensive, very specific proposal. I took longer than I should have, my failure. And when I saw that the issue was going to be sticker shock, I should have probably picked up the phone and called the board up and say, sticker shock is coming. Now, my rate to Clearwood had been reduced to $120 an hour, and this rate was $100.17 an hour. And so as I shared with Melinda about a week and a half ago, I wasn't going to reduce it any further than that. And so therein lies probably our big disconnect. Clearwood's a beautiful community. I've enjoyed working for it. We've had some killer successes together. 80% of the people that voted approved a 26% rate increase, and 75% of the people that voted approved a complete change in the bylaws. Phenomenal success. But this is a change, and change takes effort. And to get to where you want to go, there's a disconnect between, I think, some of the members of the board understanding of what a professional management association is and what a board management is. We can have that conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mitch. So I'd like to ask you one clarifying question. The board, we unanimously asked for you to bring us a new proposal because we felt like we wanted to continue the momentum we had with you, and we didn't think we were going to be able to accomplish that up to July. And then when you came back with the number that was outside of our budget, we were shocked. I guess you could say that. And we, like Tim said, we diligently tried to bring that down to say, so especially so we could tell the members that we did our best to negotiate something that would work. And yes, in our last conversation, Mitch, you said that you would not budge with your proposal. And so, is that still true? Then your proposal is finite. It is not, you're not going to budge. So we can have,
if that was in the conversation, if we have a conversation, to have that in that conversation.
I'm just going to be really blunt. It might just be a waste of time. If we weren't comfortable with that number before, why are we going to be comfortable with that number later? I'm just putting it out there.
Brian said his hand up.
Okay, Brian.
When we were negotiating for a general manager last year, Mitch was the lowest price. The other ones were $250 an hour. And that's one reason we picked Mitch. And plus his resume was very well put up against anyone else. It was great. So what we're looking at, taking Mitch out of the scenario and going out and looking for another general manager, you're going to see a $200 an hour to $250 an hour price. And now you've got Mitch kicked to the side here, and you're going to say, oh, wow, what did we do? So you might want to look at that scenario. And we looked at 3 of them also.
We've been having this discussion for a long time, and we left the table unanimously on a decision to bring back what we brought to Mitch. Aaron, you had your hand up first, and then Tim?
And then Deborah.
I'll hold off until everyone else talks.
Tim?
Well, I'll just, it's, you know, I agree with you, Brian. I think we're gonna, I mean, bottom line, we're kind of having the discussion we were taught with. This whole discussion is about having now. And, you know, I mean, I think if we just, you know, if we can just all sit down at some point, if it's tomorrow, whatever, and have a good faith conversation about how do we work this out. You know, I don't think the motion's been made to accept, or if it has, it's been withdrawn. Yes. And just move past this topic. But we're kind of talking all around it right now. Yeah. And I don't think it's fair to put anybody up against a wall. And I think asking Mitch to agree, if we're going to talk to him, that he's going to come down, it's, you know, I mean, his defense of his pricing wasn't made to the whole board, and how that happened, we can leave that for some investigative group to come through later. The point is and one of the things I think as a new person on this board, we would really help ourselves is by, you know, making sure that when we have conversations, we represent ourselves as a full body. Mm-hmm. You know, I respect you, Madam President. I understand the responsibilities you have, but at the end of the day, you are not an authority unto yourself, and I know you know that. I know you're aware of that. You know, if we're going to salvage this relationship, I agree with Brian. I think it'll be the cheapest way out of this for us, but we just need to make sure that we're doing that as a unit. And then finally, I think everybody that currently has their back up against a wall, you know, when and I don't mean to segue into a little bit of this, but when you're negotiating, you gets their back up against the wall, they're not going to back down unless you give them some kind of exit strategy. That's true if you're in the office with the car salesman. It's true if you're in the lawyer's office with, you know, a multi-million-dollar project. Everybody's got to feel like they've got some kind of accomplishment in the negotiation. And right now we've got parties that got their backs against the wall. We need to just clean the slate if possible, revisit the conversation, make sure that we can all get our backs up off the wall, and then find out what we can do and where we want to be. Because I know most of you know what my feelings were in the executive session. I'm being cautious not to discuss that in any detail for I think there's a confidentiality rule, but you know, I think there's opportunity here. I think there's opportunity for us to recognize, you know, I think there's opportunity for Mitch to understand that, you know, yes, there's the black and white. There's, you know, the board is solely governance and management is solely management, but there is a hybrid in there that can work. I don't know what it is exactly, but, you know, at the end of the day, we have the fiduciary responsibility to the membership. And so we need to be a part of somewhere. It's not micromanaging. There's no value in that. And that's not what I would even bear to begin to suggest. But I do think that we're kind of having the conversation that we are talking about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Deborah.
And
Sorry.
so I just have one comment. It's brief. And I agree we need to schedule that meeting, the cards on the table meeting. But I have to say two things. I've heard the word cheap here too much tonight. I know neither Brian nor Tim meant it derogatory. But I voted for Mitch because of the people that we interviewed for that consulting job. I voted because of the quality. And I know the rest of you that were in there, Melinda, you weren't on the board, but Aaron, think about when, and I think we're the only two that are left. Emily's not here. We saw, as we compared Mitch's company to the other three, there was quality. And that's why I voted for Mitch. And yes, his price is lower than we saw, but I didn't vote because it was cheaper. I voted because it was quality. It was going to bring a great thing to Clearwood, okay? Just had to say that, but I think we need to stop this right now, Madam Chair, and schedule that cards on the table meeting. I would discourage it tonight because it's 9 o'clock. We're tired. We've been at the computer for a while. We need to have, I'll use the term, fresh horses, right? And have a good, solid time.
Your comment was very fair, Deborah.
Yeah, and I have one more comment, which is all ultimatums off the table, whether it be we won't budge on price or we won't pay it. All our ultimatums off the table.
Off the table, okay.
Yep.
Aaron?
I'll be frank. There are things in this conversation that have shifted dramatically away from the discussion we just had the other night in holy cow. I'm a little blown away at the salesmanship going on right now. I'll speak freely because it's my right to do it. And I'm disgusted by what's going on here. Over the last few weeks, I never thought we would be dealing with what is unfolding right now. And again, I'm not going to dive down into what was talked about in executive session, but there was a unanimous consensus made. And all of a sudden, that attitude has shifted dramatically. And there's some phrasing going on with a couple of directors that, you know, you're showing your hands. You know who you are. You're showing your hands. And, wow. I'll leave this with this. If I wanted power, if I wanted to be in control of what was going on, I would have stayed on the board. And that's not me. Anyone who's actually worked with me for a while knows that I operate on principle. I try and stick the ethical line where it lands and operate with transparency. And yes, as we all discussed a little while ago, Melinda and I called him up after receiving the disengagement letter. This wasn't a potential. It has nothing to do with whether it's executed or not. It is a legally enforceable document. He gave us his notice. He sent it to the board. He sent it to the president as was required under his contract. He exited his agreement with us. So after that, I was like, oh, negotiations must be over. As he said at the beginning of this meeting, there is no negotiating. He turned in a bill. He has fired us. In all due respect, his demeanor is the most unprofessional I've ever dealt with in a professional environment. I have never dealt with a contractor who treats his client this way. I'm disgusted. And the fact that we're even going to consider having an open dialogue about how to build a relationship around something with broken trust is beyond me. I'm pissed because that conversation that Melinda and I had to try and figure out what's going on, what in the world led to receiving a letter that outlines reasons for his termination that the board hasn't even decided. Let's be real. That letter of disengagement said because you rejected payment. We're talking about the invoice that we had just talked about tonight. There wasn't even an opportunity for the board to formally agree to it or disagree with it or decide they're not going to pay it or whatever. The board hadn't even seen that, yet that was the reason, one of the reasons for his disengagement. This is all a component of negotiating in the bigger grand scheme. And this feels like this is one giant push to get 140 grand out of us. And I don't like it. I'm disgusted by the way that this is all unfolding. And I've got nothing against anyone personally, including Mitch. I will give credit where it is due. He has done an incredible job doing a lot of things in this community, and we could not have done it without his expertise and his guidance. He has done a lot of good work. But the way that this contract negotiation, if you will, has been unfolding, all trust that I had for him in the past is now gone.
How many contracts have you negotiated?
Please don't interrupt.
Brian, this is not your time.
Yes.
Okay, I just really
Brian,
don't think you're saying
please don't interrupt.
Yeah.
Let's try to have composure.
I'll at least go into it a little bit. I've dealt with contracts for the last several years in my role. I write them up. I deal with them for my company. I'm in negotiation with clients all the time, and I would never dream of speaking to my clients the way that Mr. Waterman spoke to me the other night. I'm fried because the representation of that discussion was completely off-putting. And frankly, he showed me in that conversation with Melinda that he received an email. He almost quoted verbatim. An email that I sent to this entire board, and specifically not to him. And I want to know how in the hell he was able to quote me nearly verbatim. I'm not asking the question, I'm saying point blank. He was reading a component of my email, and I want to know how the hell he got it. I didn't send that to our contractor, I sent it to the board. And similarly, the same issue that I brought up earlier, there are members in this community that members of this board and our general manager are discussing with. I am fried about that. There is no there is no good, solid confine of separation of duty here. And we want to hammer on separating duties. We're not doing that. I'm fried. That's all I have to say. Trust has been broken with me. I have no desire to engage in future discussions, and that's where I stand.
Yeah, Mitch had his hand up.
Okay, but hey, Lonnie hasn't spoke, so I was going to ask Lonnie if he had something to say.
I don't have trust, so no, I would accept his letter of resignation. I have no question about it.
Yeah, because he found the babes on the internet.
And then who else was before me? And then we probably need to wrap this up, Madam Chair.
Mitch had his hand up. Mitch?
So I am running the meeting, and so directors are going to speak first, and then Mitch can speak. Deborah, did you want to go?
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, Gerard, it's gone. I got sidetracked. I do have to go, though. Sam, I got to go.
Yeah, you all creep grabbing your phones. You know who you can see them on your screen texting each other, right?
Oh, I was going to say.
Kidding me?
That was my comment.
Okay, Aaron.
That was my comment. Look at the I know what I was going to say. Sorry, real quick. Are you guys seeing the chat that's happening during this meeting from the membership?
Yes.
Are you guys reading their messages?
Yeah.
Yes, and to that, Aaron is voted on ex officio of the board of directors. He is here for council because he has been a past director.
Yes.
So yes, he does not get a vote, but we do appreciate
and value his information. Absolutely.
Exactly. So that's the one thing I'd like to say to the membership right now.
Well, I'd encourage you to shut the chat window down because that's noise. I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't mean to offend anybody, any of the members that are.
Well, no, it's just that I think people might get confused on what Aaron's position is. And so that's just me clearing the air there. But Deborah, did you want to finish?
I do have, no, that was it. I just wanted everybody to see that. I wasn't complaining. It was interesting to see the perspective that we're getting from the members that are hearing. It's both sides. It's not one side or the other. You got both sides. But here's my point. I really have to go. It's 9 o'clock and Sam. So are there other agenda items that I really need to?
We not that you need to be here. We're going to cancel the fishing derby, and then there was you wanted to suggest a reduction plan for the office.
Oh yes, I did. I wanted to discuss about keeping the door shut.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say really quick. Well, we're not there yet. Well, you know
yeah,
what,
we're not there
what
yet.
I was going to say, right? Melinda, you want to just say it for me?
Yeah, no, I can say it for you.
Okay, because I need to go, so I'm respectfully going to go ahead and exit. Am I okay?
I think, yeah, we'll still have a quorum, so there's.
Yeah, and then tell me when the time for the meeting. And Aaron, I hope you'll come. I know that you're concerned, but we do value your counsel. Okay, so I will respectfully leave the meeting, and thank you all so much.
Thank you, Deborah. Have a good evening. Okay, so the motion we do have on the table right now is to have a meeting with Mitch. Is there any more discussion before we vote on this? Mitch, you did, yes, you had your hand up. What would you? I can't unmute you for whatever reason. I don't have the ability.
Well, there we are. As I shared with you, there is I was in the classified weapons program, and as I shared with Aaron and you, there's a thing that we call mosaic, which why information is compartmentalized, because mosaic is just a process by which you take pieces of information, a thesis, and build a story. And as I shared with Aaron, I don't have any of your inside information. I just build a mosaic. And I take information from the association and from what's going on, my knowledge, and I extrapolate what's going on. And as a general rule, I shared with Aaron, he brought me in because I'm a professional property manager, way above a GM. I'm a change agent. And so I can well understand what might be going on behind the scenes as a process is unfolding and change is developing, and watching how people are maneuvering to react to the changes in an association. The board brought me in to bring you to a new change. I shared with Aaron in November, I see a change, a shift has occurred. What's going on? And from December through now, or through actually March, it was obvious to me that a change had occurred. And I was asking, what's going on? And as Walter had said, all you have to do is affirm, are we heading to this direction? And we can set a goal. And from setting a goal, then we can set objectives on a monthly basis to get to that goal. All right, that's all I've asked for. I never got a response. It was very obfuscated, which really was offsetting. We'll get into that another time. There's one other thing I think that's important to say, and that is, Melinda, I came to you after I received a very odd draft response to our proposal. And I asked for permission to talk to Deborah and Alexa. And I asked to talk to them, as I shared with you. They are the most knowledgeable people about finances at the association. They have great maturity in operating the association. They understand it. And you gave me permission to talk to Alexa and Deborah. And if Gary was, or Tim was available, if he was available, to talk with them, and we tried to reach him. And I had that conversation with your permission with Alexa and with Deborah. And we had a very good back and forth financial discussion focused on goals rather than money. Am I stating our conversation, Alexa, correctly?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And so I asked for your permission. You gave me your permission, and I talked with them. And why did I talk with them? Because in a large meeting, to be able to negotiate is very difficult. But to sit down and have a conversation with people who have the most intimate details and understanding of the association's operations and finances, we were able to come up with an understanding of where are we going and why this was a very economical solution. And I did that with your permission. And if someone would feel, and I could see how someone would feel, that this was a manipulative ploy, when in fact, this was the most direct and honest and sincere means of people exchanging a belief and understanding of goals and objectives. And that was a very mature and business-like negotiation. Thank you for that time, Alexa and Deborah, that's gone.
I have my hand up.
Thank you.
I have my hand up if no one else does.
Okay, so this, is that Lonnie?
Yeah.
Okay, Lonnie, did you have something to say? We got to wrap this up, guys. So try to make. I don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
Lonnie,
I don't want the board wasting his time if Mitch has already stated he's not going to change his price. So why are we even talking about it if there's not going to be no negotiation there?
because Alexa made a motion. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. We
Okay,
can,
if he made the statement that I'm not going to change. So what is there to negotiate?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not going to negotiate, why waste our time?
May I ask a question?
Yes, but yes, let's get to the, yeah, go Aaron.
If that professional conversation happened with Deborah and Alexa and everything was good with it, then why did he decide to turn in his resignation before the board could talk about that discussion? They had a talk, and before the board could even talk about it, he submitted his resignation and said he was done. That kind of triggered the end of negotiations, as far as I'm concerned. Am I wrong to assume that? Like, what the hell happened between then and now? That's why I'm saying that resignation in and of itself feels like a tactic in the grand scheme of negotiating, and it doesn't add up. That's all I'm going to leave it at. It doesn't make sense.
Your mute is on. Melinda, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Thank you. So what I was saying was I was going to call for the question unless there are any more comments. Alexa, I was going to ask you to read back your motion.
All right. I move I move to schedule a meeting with Mitch Waterman and the full board for the purpose of discussing his contract.
Okay.
Or a working arrangement. Let me just say that.
Okay. And then who seconded it?
I did.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. All right. So I'll call for the question. Alexa?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Tim?
I have a question, but geez. What's the vote on again? I'm sorry.
To schedule a meeting with Mitch for a meeting with the board for Mitch.
Do we have indication that if we vote to schedule one, he's going to want to have it with us?
He said he would have that conversation, yes.
Yes.
I'll vote affirmative, yes, aye.
Thank you, Tim. Lonnie?
I'm going to abstain from it.
Abstain?
Abstain.
I'll vote aye.
All right. And Deborah is not here.
So, motion passes. So we'll schedule, Mitch, would it be okay if I reach out to you tomorrow to schedule something with you?
Yes, ma'am. I'll look for that phone call.
Thank you. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is to contract with an independent HR consultant. So we had a little hang up with that. I was only able to get 2 recommendations for an HR consultant, so we don't have a third. And I never found the time to get pricing on those 2. So would we like to table this until a later date, and we could possibly do a board poll? Is everyone comfortable with that, or?
Sorry. Are you saying a board poll you're going to continue the process of selecting someone and make a recommendation, and then the board will be polled?
Yes, that would be the idea.
All right. Yes, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, so are there any objections to that? I'd find a third and
No.
Okay, so no objections. Okay, so Alexa, if you just want to make that an action item, and we'll move on that.
Yes.
Thank you. So the next item is H 2020 Fishing Derby cancellation. I move that CCA cancel the 2020 Fishing Derby due to the COVID-19 pandemic social distancing restrictions. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion? I just want to say that James Broden, that is the one that has taken on the fishing derby, has been very diligent in wanting to get that organized for us. And sadly, we had to cancel because of the new extension to the social distancing proclamation. So I just want to apologize to the membership that we have to continue to cancel events that we all look forward to. And I hope that we can have our pool party when that comes. I think that would be our next event for the year. So I just wanted to say that, and just thanks again for James. And he said that he is more than prepared to help out again next year. So thank you again, James. So I'll call for the question if there's no more discussion.
Just
yes,
one
Alexa?
question. Who seconded that motion?
Brian did.
Brian, all right.
Tim? Oh, you're muted, Tim. Let me unmute you.
Just out of curiosity, how has this derby, how long has this derby been running, and has it been canceled before? Have we ever missed a year?
I don't have an answer for any of those. I'm pretty sure it's been for a long time. Brian would probably be able to answer that the best.
How long is what, Tim?
How many years has this derby run, and has it ever been canceled before? This is seems like quite an event.
Ever since Clearwood started, it's never been canceled before. We stock the fish in Horseshoe, and they have a derby every year.
Yeah.
So can I continue? So to speak to that, the lake still is going to be stocked unless there's no delays. That has, from what I understand, has been paid for, and it will continue. So as a reminder to our members for safety, we're not necessarily closing the lake, but there are restrictions for fishing and I believe hunting. So just please, everyone, practice safety when you're out there.
Melinda, did we stock Blue Lake this year?
Blue Lake is, I believe we get a donation from a member for Blue Lake, and I am not aware if that has or will happen this year.
Okay.
But I can look into that.
Yeah, we usually do when we stock Horseshoe.
Yeah, no, I've met the members that donate to it, and so I would hope so. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll call for the question. So Alexa?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Lonnie?
Aye.
Thank you, Lonnie. And I'll do aye. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is the an updated COVID-19 risk reduction plan for CCA. So Deborah wanted to speak to the idea of possibly limiting members at all from coming in the office. So that's a discussion for the board to have. So I'll make a motion to remove the rule of having a motion before discussion. So were there any comments on that?
I thought they were already limiting the amount of people that could come in there.
They are. So they only allow one member in at a time unless you have a minor with you. I think the reason Deborah wanted to bring this to the table is that it seems that this was going to be the peak of COVID. And so that was her concern, is trying to limit our staff's interactions. So I said we could discuss it. I'd like to ask Mitch a question though. Mitch, is there any reason why we couldn't do that? I know that cash, people would most likely want to receive a receipt, and I want to say there are some restrictions from not accepting cash, but I do understand that other businesses as well are not accepting cash at this time. So what would that look like?
Our staff is currently wearing personal protective equipment when they're handling cash. They allow one person to come in for the purpose of cash, and they keep their distance in the office. The staff is comfortable. They're complying with the standard procedures that the government has acknowledged has a safety factor. I believe that also having staff in the office gives the community a sense of there's someone available if they have a problem. So the bigger picture, I think at this point, I think that our personal protective posture is solid, it's doable, it's protective of our members and our staff to the degree that we're dealing with this. That's my short answer.
Okay, thank you, Mitch. So this was a suggestion by Deborah. Would someone like to make a motion to have that done? So we wouldn't be closing the office. Deborah's suggestion was just that we wouldn't allow members into the office any longer, just for her session was for April, for the month of April. So if no one wants to make a motion, I'm still comfortable with Mitch's recommendations that we have in place.
I think it'd be the people working in the office ought to be the ones that say, hey, I'd rather we didn't have the people here or what, because they're the ones on the front line, in the danger. So I think I would go with what they recommend. If they don't want to be around people, I'll ask them if you want me to.
Oh no, I think that would be something we would direct Mitch to do. Is so I guess what we're hearing, Mitch, is have we directly asked staff if they're comfortable with allowing members into the office during this time?
One at a time, unless there's a minor child, staying behind the table. There's nothing on the table. They have gloves, they keep distance, the staff is comfortable with that. It is consistent with the governmental regulations. I have heard no pushback from staff.
Okay. So would anyone like to make a motion on this discussion? Because if not, I think we're just going to move on. Okay. So I'll make a motion to reinstate the rules. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any objections? Okay. So now we are to relief to membership. Okay. So Mitch, and I believe maybe it wasn't Mitch, but Jennifer and Rachel brought to us some suggestions for the membership.
I can repeat them if you wish.
That'd be great. And also, Alexa, do you think you could share screen that email for us?
Oh, that'd be great.
And then, but yeah, so if we can't do that, then that'd be great, Mitch, because yeah, my board packet has floated away.
I'm off the top.
Which, does anybody remember the title of it?
You can start sharing. I'm sorry, Alexa, what was that?
Okay. Who can start sharing?
You can start sharing.
Well, I need to find it. What was it?
It's just it's our board packet.
It's in the board packet. All right.
Yes.
Now, let me just say, that's my, I am not able to see all of Zoom right now, and I'm not.
I know. Tim, go. I'm sorry, Tim.
Did we make a motion to suspend the need for a motion before discussion on this topic, or do we have a motion on the table?
We don't have a motion on the table. I really wanted to, sorry, I have a bug. We don't have a motion. I do not have a motion for this discussion.
Yeah, I think I would make a motion to go ahead and this is kind of when we had this conversation based on the email, I felt like all the board was really doing was going to I thought it had already been expressed to the membership, and the board was just going to kind of ratify the activity. And so I'll make a motion to approve of the relief suggestions that were made by the staff and the general manager, and move on to, if they haven't been fully communicated, but fully communicate them to the membership.
Yeah, I think the only discussion was if anyone, oh, sorry, I'll second your motion. And so to open discussion, I think the only question we needed to ask was, did anyone find anything that didn't coincide with our covenants or rule and regs, or I'm sorry, bylaws and rule regs? That was the only thing.
So Madam President, may I repeat what those suggestions were?
Yes, please. Sorry for the hold up.
Yes, I have them up before me, but I can't get into Zoom.
Okay.
Can't share it.
Well, Alexa, it was suspend all late fees through June. And you want to read them, Alexa?
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got something else up here.
Oh.
Let me.
I know. I can't get mine loaded either. When I run Zoom, everything stops. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, here it is. I'm suggesting the following actions be allowed and communicated to the membership. Billing for renters' fees will be delayed until June 1st. And number 2, the board understands all members are impacted during this COVID-19 shelter-in-place order. Association dues are important, but not the highest priority. We understand we are affected like all members. The association will not be the cause of increased stress to its membership during these most unusual times. The association is offering all members the following. Number 1, no interest or late fees during the first 6 months of the year. And number 2, payment plan options are available to any members who are financially harmed by the COVID-19 work stand down. And then let's send an email to office admin asking to set up a no interest, no late fee 12-month payment plan.
So I understand waiving fees, but my only question is the interest. But I guess because it's for all members, because the covenants would say everything would have to be fair. That all lots have to be.
These are most unusual times. These are emergent conditions. I believe that whatever the covenants are, no one will challenge you in court. Trying to support the membership to endure successfully during these most unusual times. These are beyond anything people have experienced mostly in life. So it is within the realm of the board to take an action to support the membership success at this time. And I think those are very practical steps to help the membership succeed.
Does anyone else have any comments on this?
Madam President, I think if we were to consider this, we would want to do it as a board resolution so it carries some weight against any regulations or bylaws that we might be infringing on.
Wise move.
That's a good point. So that means we'd have to draft a resolution.
Right.
And
I'm sorry.
And-
This is Jennifer. I saw a request to unmute my microphone. I was tending to my little one. Is there a question you had for me?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I'll go ahead and remute. I just wanted to check
Oh,
in
no.
since that when
It's
I got
okay.
back.
Hi.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so we would have to draft a resolution. Can we vote on resolution by board poll? So this is something that we could put together and just have available. So we don't have to have another meeting. We could get it.
You have 4 members right now. You have a quorum.
Right. Point of order. I believe we could vote to approve the concept, and then are you suggesting we do a board poll for the resolution language itself?
I got you. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's do it. All right, so that was Tim's motion. Tim, will you read, or Alexa, did you capture Tim's motion? Would you read it back?
I only captured motion to approve. Motion to approve the selection for release.
It sounds like I can retract my motion because there's a different motion you want to make now.
That's true. Who seconded? I seconded. So I'll retract my my second. And so Alexa, did you want to form a new motion? I'm sorry, you guys.
Well, I move that the board approve the general manager's recommendation.
Recommendations to the relief to memberships, and then you could list the recommendations, which is the relief of interest for the rest of the year or for 6 months, however that was stated. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, so
I had it up.
Sorry, guys.
There for a
I
minute.
know. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let me ask a question. If I hit this button that says exit minimized video, does that kick me out or does that bring me back in?
There it is. I see it. So you would say the GM's recommendation for members relief.
For member relief to be documented as a board operating resolution.
And maybe say the members relief recommendations in the email drafted on the date, the 3/31. So then we could always go back to this email and then for it to be, put into operating resolution to be solidified.
Okay.
So once I'm gonna give you a minute, and if you want to read it back to us,
I make a motion to approve the general manager's recommendations as presented in his email of March 31st. For member relief to be documented as a board operating resolution.
I second it.
All right.
And then so any discussion? So my only discussion would be that one, to give Mitch, it does give Mitch the authority to move forward on this, and then we just need this shared to the membership. So that got really loud all of a sudden. So we need an action item for that.
All right.
Any more discussion?
Action item to draft the resolution or action item?
To share the information with the membership, and then that's a good idea too, is another action item to draft the resolution.
Okay.
And so that would be a secretary position to share to the membership, and I can take on the role of drafting the resolution.
I have a question. Alexa,
Yes, Mitch.
Alexa, do you know how to manipulate and post on our website?
She doesn't.
I do not know yet. I used to manage a website like 12 years ago, so I'm sure I can learn it.
She's going to be she's going to be actively training with Aaron and Emily.
Right. And actually, when Emily is going to help me through this process this month, so I'm sure she will arrange to do that.
I have another question. So
Yes.
this is a question and operation at the same time. How many people have authority, do you want to have authority to be able to manipulate your website?
So this is not germane to the conversation, but we do have to have that conversation. And so I just want to go back to when this email originally came and the board did give consensus on it, you asked for the secretary to share this information.
Oh, I did.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so any more discussion? Okay, so I'm going to call for the question. Brian?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Lonnie?
Aye.
Alexa?
Aye.
Melinda's aye. All right, motion passes. I got to find my agenda.
The other thing on here is CCA bank signatories.
Thank you. Okay, so I make a motion that we remove Emily Martin as signatory. Ooh, she's only sick. We might actually need to get Jennifer on the line. I didn't.
I can speak to that.
Oh, thank you.
You've just changed executive officers. Signature cards will now have to be generated and change, remove Emily's name and to add Alexa's name. We will have to go ahead and talk to our two banks and have the cards change.
No, that's fine. I got to make a motion, but what are those two banks? It's Bank of Omaha, and what would be the other one? Is it OB?
That's correct.
Okay. I just had total. Okay. So
which bank other than Bank of Omaha?
OB in town.
Okay.
So to continue my motion, I make a motion that we remove Emily Martin from Bank of Omaha, a signature from Bank of Omaha and OB Bank. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Well, just what I thought when we had the discussion the other day, it seemed like we wouldn't have to remove her yet, that she was willing to stay on as signatory for a while since she's remaining on the board. I don't know whether that's something.
No, thank you. Thank you for reminding me that, because that makes a good point, because on finance, you could also be a possible bank statement reviewer.
Well, yeah, we have to sort that out if I'm chair of the finance committee and also a signatory on that would not work, I think.
Exactly. So you know what? Let's just save this discussion then.
All right. You want to withdraw your motion then?
Yeah, I will withdraw my motion. And then we can talk about it again on the 25th. Can you put, can you
make it?
Thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry, who seconded that motion just for my OCD here?
I believe Tim did.
Tim, I thought it was Tim.
For what it's worth, in issues like this, when I've been involved with other boards, typically the secretary or whoever in the staff says, hey, we need to update our signature cards due to the changes. They make the recommendation and then they just submit, the recommendation to the board, and the board just approves the recommendation.
Tim, I would agree with you. I mean, as a general rule, you limit your signature authority to your corporate officers. And if corporate officer changes, we just come to the board and say, we need the board to approve change in cards. We keep the signature to the board office.
It seems like the board's trying to take action to allow them to go ahead and prepare the changes to the signature cards. And that seems a little bit horse before the cart for me. But I may be wrong. Maybe the association has a traditional practice of approving that. But, anytime you go along and you have changes, there may be other reasons to change that. The staff or the I would imagine the general manager in this case would say, oh, we need to make these updates to the signature.
Rachel has her hand raised, and I think she's because she probably has an answer to this question. So
Oh,
I'm
good,
going to unmute her because I am unaware exactly how this works as well.
Oh, I just had my hand raised to say when you were making the motion, you said Omaha Bank, and it's Mutual of Omaha, not
Thank
the
you.
Omaha.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to make sure if you were making that
Oh,
motion,
mutual.
you said the right bank. Yep, but that's all. That's all I've got.
All right.
Thank you, Rachel.
Technical correction there.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is executive session, which I need to schedule a meeting for us to go into. That's not of the same exact meeting.
I will hear from you tomorrow, Madam President.
Thank you, Mitch.
Madam, I'm hopping off your phone now.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, to the directors. So, I believe this meeting. So, what do you guys feel more comfortable with? We can ask everyone to leave because this meeting does have a waiting room. It means I have to allow people in. Or would you guys be more comfortable with a separate Zoom meeting that I send out to everyone and we go into that?
Aren't you going to have a member open forum?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So yes, let's do that first. Okay, so member open forum. If everyone could choose to raise their little icons, their little hands, or comment in the Zoom chat, it will make things much easier. I'm not getting anything. I might just have to unmute everyone.
We not.
All right. So I'm sorry. What was that, Tim? Tim? What, were you going to say something?
He's muted.
What was that, Tim?
Are we not going into executive session?
We are going to have executive session, but we have open forum first.
After open forum.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so I believe I have everyone unmuted. Maybe not everyone. Let me get everyone unmuted, and then we'll try to answer any questions. Unmute all.
Can we speak?
One moment. I'm just trying to get everyone unmuted. I feel like some people. Okay. So yes, if we could just try not to overtalk everyone. I have everyone unmuted, so that hopefully it makes it easier for everyone to get their questions in. So if someone would like to start.
I would like to.
Please identify.
I don't know.
Mine.
Oh, okay. So my name is Linda Azzarella. I'm a member. I've been a member of Clearwood for 12 years. My question is, if Mitch Waterman leaves, what will happen with our accountant, Jennifer Speidel? Because I know from the February minutes, her contract is up for negotiation too. So what is the status with her? If Mitch leaves, is Jennifer going to stay? Or are we going to have to, go and look for a whole new professional GM and a new accountant and everything? So I'd just like to know what your thoughts are on that. And I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Yes, we did have Jennifer's contract ended in February, I believe, but we did have negotiations with her, and we did sign a contract with her to consist for the rest of 2020. I think it goes through to January of 2021. So we are very happily in contract with Jennifer. We're all very excited to continue to work with her, and so we are in a very good place with Jennifer. And I think I speak for the whole board when I say we really appreciate everything she's done for the community and what we hope to continue to do with her and learn with her. Any other director want to comment? Linda, did you have any more questions?
Oh, no, I don't. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anyone else have a question?
My name's Rob, and I have a question.
Great, Rob.
I'm going to come and stay with my mom for the month of May, end of April, and I'm going to bring my RV out. But because of the COVID, I can't be 100% sure that I am not infected, and I don't want to bring it to her because she's 75 and has some respiratory issues. So I have a favor to ask of the board if I may get access to the restroom that's just below her property on the trail there. I know it's an inconvenience. She talked to somebody there in the office, and they said because of the COVID thing, the answer was no. But then also that there was a board meeting here tonight, and that I could appeal to you guys and ask if I could use it with the understanding that I would keep it immaculately clean for the period of, say, 2 weeks. And that's my question.
Thank you. So what date would you be arriving?
Soon, a week, 2 weeks. It's still up in the air, but I think that bathroom is going to be locked indefinitely. And so I just wanted to put it out there and figure out if there's if that's just a possibility.
So we can't vote on that tonight since it's not on the agenda. And we do have the bathrooms closed for the COVID-19, and I'm not sure on the ability to give anyone keys, especially if you're not a member. So I'd be willing to put that on our April 25th agenda so the board can have a discussion, but I really don't know if that's a possibility though. Can any other directors speak more to that?
Can I just say something here? Linda speaking again?
Yes.
In the past, members have been given keys, especially during the winter months, have been given keys to open to the restrooms for their convenience, and they took responsibility to lock them up again. And I could see where the key could be given to Rob's mother because she's a member, and then at the end of his stay, he just turns the key back in. So that has been done in the past several times that I remember.
Folks, I gotta say this. I'm concerned about my mom's health. Very concerned. Concerned enough to sit through 3 hours of what we listened to tonight. And so please, I just would greatly appreciate it if you would take her health into consideration and grant me this small favor.
Oh, I am. Thank you for doing that for your mother. I feel horrible that you had to sit through 3 hours of our meeting. I wish the person that you spoke with would have said that it would have needed to be an agenda item for us to make a decision on. We could possibly do a board poll, but that's not something we can do today. But if you could email info@clearwood.org your request, just so I have it in writing and I have your full name, and if you could tell us your mother's name and her lot number, we can attempt to move on that and have a discussion on that.
And Melinda, would I address that to you personally?
Yes, you can.
Cool. Done.
And actually,
No
I'm
problem.
sorry.
I'll do that.
I'm sorry. You can actually just send it to me directly. It's MPOIRIER, and that's at clearwood.org.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you. I'll get that done. Hey, and may I just say, just one other thing. I'm not part of the organization, but I did listen to tonight's exchanges. I gotta say, Mitch sounds very professional and worth his money. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you.
That, I will let you guys go, and I'll email you. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Rob. Shelly, did you say you had a question?
Shelley's on mute, Melinda.
Sorry. Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, is she? Okay, I can, let me unmute her.
Go on mute.
There you are, Shelley.
Again, for the fourth time. How, Melinda, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I have a concern. There was a post on CCR tonight about a wedding that was held down at a pavilion just today, and how social distancing is affecting COVID, and and how we're reacting to that in our own community.
So you, just to be clear, you believe a member hosted a wedding at one of our beaches or parks?
Yes, that just happened today.
Okay, and are you asking what the board will do about it? Or are you just stating that?
Not necessarily, no. Yeah, I'm just expressing concern.
Oh.
I mean, there's, obviously there's going to be opinions on either side, as always in CCR, which has transpired. But yeah, I guess, I would like to hear your opinion on it.
I think that people should probably listen to the guidance we've been given.
Protocols, yes.
That we should be social distancing.
Absolutely.
And we shouldn't be gathering, and yet to consider everyone's health. But yeah, I don't know, and the other directors can speak to this. I don't know how much we have authority, unless maybe someone would write a violation. But then again, those things aren't written in our book, so I don't think we have any authority to do much except remind members to do their due diligence.
Absolutely. Understood.
Yeah. So. Did you have another question, Shelley, or a comment?
I do, but I think I'll reserve for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Did anyone else have a question or comment?
This is Wilmot. What would the liability be if somebody got sick and died after a situation like that?
I really don't know. I'm sorry. I have a child.
Okay.
Shouldn't all the parks be closed at this point?
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Do we have any indication? I wasn't aware that this was. Do we have any indication that this was some kind of a permitted thing on behalf of or did somebody just decide they wanted to get married at the beach and invited a bunch of their friends out? I don't know what the nature of it was. The liability from other things that have been going on recently seems to be that these things aren't as strongly enforced. Nobody's, put us in a state of martial law. And so I have heard of stories where people have called the police because they've seen these events going on, and the police are loath to get involved to any great degree. So we're not kind of in a martial law state. If it was a permitted thing I would imagine, does the board permit? Do we do things like that with our parks, or do people?
Yes, people can get married so members more or less can do what they like at parks.
Like maybe it might just, if I got together with some friends of mine and went down to Windy Beach, that would, I mean, it's the same thing we're dealing with all across the planet right now, is there are people that are adhering strictly to the stay-at-home social distancing policies. And then there's people that are ignoring them completely, and there's every array in between. And so there really hasn't been anything. The only thing I could think is if it was a permitted thing that the board or the association granted authority for them to conduct this, and didn't subsequently, when the COVID-19 or when social distancing parameters came out, didn't contact them and say we have to withdraw the permit because of this. If they just went out on the beach, I don't think there's much anybody can do about it, short of calling the sheriff. And I've from what I understand, the law enforcement isn't getting that involved with those kinds of things.
So to the person that had the original question, did you have any follow-up questions, or did we answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Shelley, did you say you wanted to comment on this question?
I absolutely do, Melinda.
What would you like? Yes, we can.
Okay, so running a buy nothing group is kind of a challenge right now because it's a gifting group. The challenge being that, you know, we want to exercise social distancing, but do we want to have people go out and buy things and not social distance as opposed to gifting things which we can pick up on our neighbor's porch next door?
I don't think that the directors get to say if people choose to use the buy
no,
nothing
not
group.
directors. No.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. Are you just trying to share that you'd prefer if people wouldn't do that right now, or I'm just trying to understand?
There was a social distancing post in the Clearwood page tonight with the wedding. So yeah, trying to address these concerns.
Yeah, I think the best thing that directors can do is just remind members to, you know, for everyone to do their best, to, you know, stay 6 feet apart, don't gather, and, you know, if you can, wash your hands as frequently as often, or frankly as you can. And again, to closing parks or things, I think that speaks to what Tim was saying, like we're not under any type of severe like martial law. I think people need to just choose to make the right choices. I mean, I don't know if we'd want to do that. Is that something the membership would like to see? I think that then it would come down to how we, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think there's a way for us to regulate that unless we had like people standing there. Yes, Tim?
I think it's enough. I personally, I think it's enough said. You know, the board absolutely, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the board at this point, but I think that that the board should be in agreement with what the governor has established as your stay-at-home social distancing policies. And but we are not in a position to go out and physically enforce that, nor do we have anything in our bylaws that allows us to penalize people financially or some other fashion if their conduct doesn't fit what the state of affairs are. It's unfortunate. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Shelley, that I wish, you know, everybody would do this. You know, this has been going on for a couple of months now. I'm happy to say I have no signs. I also happy to say that I recognize I could possibly be a carrier and not know it. So I wear a face mask when I go out in public. I wear gloves. I do everything I can. I wish everybody else did. But you know, we made a stop at the grocery store today, and I got, you know, a guy walking in front of me, coughing without covering his face, and you know, there's not much you can do to manage people's behavior short of getting the law involved. And I encourage you, if you feel like it's an egregious thing, or if you see the life of somebody's in danger, then you should probably call the police. But I don't know there's much else the board can do to consider your concerns, although we appreciate the fact that you're so focused on you know, continuing social distancing and doing the best for our community.
Did anyone else have any other questions?
Suze is muted.
Who is?
Suze Physic.
Oh, okay. It doesn't always work the first time I press it, so I don't know.
Oh,
There
I
you
have
are.
muted myself for background noise.
Did you have a question?
No, I think at this point in time, I have heard everything, and I've been on here just as everyone else has for the period of time, and I thank you guys for this meeting has been great. But I don't have anything to say right now, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. All right, is there any other questions? Okay. So the board does need to adjourn into executive session, so we will need to ask everyone to leave the meeting. And thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate you guys being a part of the discussion.
Well, Linda, I'm going to push a button here to see if I can get Zoom back to a full picture. If I'm lost, I'll sign back in.
Okay.
Oh, no, that was it. I'm back.
Nice. So I am.
Let's see, we still have a couple signed.
Yeah.
One left.
Okay, and then Lonnie, that's you, right? The
phone.
Yeah. Your phone number is 0319.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, there's 6. That's what there should be.
Just to throw it out there, you might want to stop recording this as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I would have forgotten.